a new one or no? No? You just always forget to share audio. That must be it. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive, presented by oddshopper.com. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on the Twitters, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS, breaking down a two-gamer today. No two games we haven't seen before, but some interesting circumstances, elimination games for both. What's going on, bro?
Yeah, man, how's it going? It always feels weird doing this show on Thursdays because I don't do the morning show. So, like, I haven't talked about it yet, and it just, I don't know, it throws me off.
It is different, for sure. You do the morning show, it's kind of a primer, and
Right.
you don't really have to go into it with any thoughts. You're just kind of giving a first look at the slate. But for this one, you can't be doing that 2 hours until lock.
Why not?
I know you're not. I know for a fact you're not, because I understand. I'm very aware of how your analysis shifts. Everyone else might not be, but I'm very aware of well, we'll find out. We'll find out.
We'll see how good you are.
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. We got a fun one today, but first we got 300 people watching. Hit that thumbs up. 57 likes. Get up to 100 out of the gate. Subscribe to the channel, and if you want, hit join down below. We got you covered on that as well. Free super chats each month, custom emojis, the sweet badges. You see them. Our boy Malakor iced up with the 1 year badge, and we'll always prioritize your questions and comments along with along with our premium Discord members. So, out of the gate, Adam, first question I always ask you. Usually, it doesn't always pertain to playoff slates, but is this a slate where we can get some decent value today?
I don't know, man. You can't ask me these things when I haven't looked at the slate yet. No, but I mean, I think this is the set of games.
Oh God, if that was actually your answer, I'm never doing a show with you again.
No, I mean, this is the set of games where I think it is a lot more difficult to come by value, and that's how it's been. That's how I think it is again today. Like, if you just kind of look at projections and sort by point per dollar value, all the guys that get moved to the top are like 6K plus. So like you have Luka, who obviously you would love to get to, but the issue is that the pay down options end up being the cheap Suns that, like, in Cameron Payne's case, maybe play 4 minutes in a game. So that's kind of the issue. You do have a little bit of value because of Miami, but like Lowry's been out enough where those prices have adjusted some anyway.
For sure. So when it comes to Miami, we can dive right into this one. And then you got Live Before Lock coming up right after this. You got Eric Lindquist, you got Greg Ehrenberg. And of course, they're going past lock till 7:30. It's going to be fun. Miami, Philly tipping off at 7, but those guys are going 30 minutes past. Jordan will be hanging with them. You need to just do straight producer cam. That's what we should start doing. Even if you're not talking, you just be there. Maybe throw some sleeves on. But
absolutely not.
No? All right. I don't know why you don't like it. I thought maybe that's why you're the best producer, because you're just good. Like, we bring you in, you're good. If you're not brought in, you're good. I can appreciate it.
Yeah. I prefer to not be brought in.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I just, I'd rather just sit here.
You're a funny dude, man. People need to learn more about the life of Jordan Klein.
Absolutely not.
I mean, just ask Adam. The conversation we had after the show about Parks the other day was one of the greatest things ever.
One of the most ridiculous conversations I've ever had.
But was it not hilarious?
Yeah, I just didn't know that.
Can you explain what happened just for anybody wondering? Because it was the most absurd thing ever. You actually took it to Twitter.
Yeah, so what happened was, I don't remember how it came up, but just said something about meeting women at bars and how that's not like the most ideal place. And I said something like, yeah, I should probably
not your bar, not the bar you go to.
Well, definitely not that one, but like others are fine, but it's still, whatever. And so I said something like, yeah, I should probably start like hanging out at parks, in my mind thinking nice, relaxing place people go to for reasons other than to get drunk. They go walk their dogs. You just, interact with people.
And how did he react?
Immediately, without even skipping a beat, I say, maybe I should hang out at parks. Jordan goes, no. And Lofty's like, wait, what? Why not? Like that? Yes, you should. And Jordan's like, Jordan, it turns out, thinks that a park is a playground. So I was gonna go just hang out with some 5-year-olds and try and like pick up their mothers or something.
He actually thought you were gonna go sit on a park bench as a single man without a dog and just watch the kids play at a jungle gym.
I'm honestly surprised like 25% of people agreed with me because I do think that. I mean, like national. You brought up national parks, but what about theme parks? You know, like.
Oh yeah, this was his thing
stuff.
today.
Yeah.
Yo, he thought he had checkmate today.
I kind of do.
He goes, but what about an amusement park, Laffy?
It's a rides.
Oh, Adam doesn't have anything for you.
Oh no, I saw that the amusement park.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that I said to him yesterday. If I had meant I'm gonna go to Six Flags, I would have said Six Flags, not a park. Like I live in a city. Jordan lives in a city. I just thought the guy would know what a park was.
Me too. Playground can be in a park, but
Sure. Most parks have a playground.
Right.
And then somebody tried to justify it on Twitter too, like, well, like when my kids say let's go to the park, they're referring to a playground. It's like, okay, one, Jordan is like a 23-year-old adult, and two,
yeah, kids are dumb.
Wrong.
Right. That's okay. Kids.
Right. Kids say a lot of dumb shit.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, my 5-year-old calls it a park. Well, that's why you're wrong. Like that's exactly why it is not. Anyway, it was good stuff. So maybe if we wouldn't get verifiably canceled for it, I would just leave the mics hot after the show. But
that would be awful.
Yeah, it can't happen. It could never happen, but it would be fun. I think most people would enjoy it. Other people wouldn't want to hear from us again.
Somebody said I got free DFS tips in my van.
Yeah, Jordan's no was so emphatic that I thought he had already dialed 911.
Right. Like it's not like he had time to like think about it or was like trying to be funny or something. He just immediately was just like, I need to stop Adam from going and hanging out at playgrounds because if I don't say anything, he's about to go do that.
It was good stuff. But yeah, 28% of people agreed with Jordan, which is mind-numbing. Maybe they're just a contrarian. I guarantee you one of those votes was Josh. Guarantee it.
I don't know. Josh did like some tweets making fun of Jordan in there.
I know, but it would be typical Josh to be like, yeah, it's a park. You know?
I mean, there's definitely, whenever you get a poll that there's a clear correct answer, some percentage of the wrong answer are people just messing up the poll.
That's what I mean. They're trying to, they're brigading it.
Right. And then there's the part that is just not wrong so much as they're just dumb. And they're saying like, well, parks have playgrounds. So the answer is either one. And then there's the smaller group like Jordan that is just flat out wrong and thinks that a playground is a park.
All right. Let's talk about, you guys got to chill with some of these ship my names. We All right. And by the way, me saying that was very stupid because cue the next 50 minutes of just new ship my money names. Remember when your internet used to cut out?
Ship my modem?
Yeah, but it was like just nonstop. All right. Let's talk Miami and Philly. Happy to have you guys with us. We're going to have a fun show today, but an informative show. Try and bring them together. And we'll talk about Miami first. So the Heat, and by the way, this stuff is intentional. You got an hour to do two games that we've talked about 5 times already. So, there's got to be some a little nuance here into these. And I'm sure we'll get back into it. But Miami Heat, 2-point dogs on the road against Philly after that blowout. It tells you not to overreact too much, even though that was just an embarrassment of a performance, a lack thereof from the Sixers last game out. I mean, horrible. But if we start with Jimmy Butler, you've got Luka on the slate, you got Jimmy Butler, you got Embiid, you got Devin Booker, Harden, like all of those guys, at least on DraftKings, 8,700 and up. Butler's now the second highest priced player ahead of Joel Embiid at 9,800.
Yeah. And it's tough because it's a situation where like, if this were the regular season, that would be absurd. And obviously you're not even thinking twice about it. You're just going to Embiid. But the fact that Embiid is injured, he's in a difficult matchup. And then on the other side, Butler is doing everything for this team. I think at the very least, it makes it a lot closer and it's not like a complete write-off. I think still that, Butler is probably a little bit overpriced compared to other players. Like he's $1,000 more than Booker. He's $1,200 or $1,100 more than Harden. That's what I think makes it difficult to get to Butler more so than just that he's the same price as Embiid, because realistically, based on what we've seen, that is probably deserved.
You think Malcolm McDonald goes to the Parks in the summer?
Oh no, he already made fun of Jordan for this one. We're on the same side here.
What?
Oh wait, oh that guy. I thought you said Miguel. I thought you said the guy in chat.
No, not Miguel McDonald.
No, yeah, you meant Dick Arm.
That thing you sent me yesterday was crazy too.
Yeah, not getting into that one.
No. I mean, it's actually far less in whatever, but
it's less noticeable.
Yeah, it's not noticeable at all. Well, most of never. Yeah, I was going there. Bam Adebayo. Let's talk about him. Price point, I'd say pretty reasonable here. He's 7,400. You know what's interesting? It's not even interesting, but something that I did want to point out. So Bam's usage rate through the first 2 games was almost 30%. And of course, you're going up against DeAndre Jordan, you're going up against Paul Reed. The idea is obviously to get as much production out of Bam in the best matchup you're going to get. And Butler's usage was around 25%. Now, in the last 3 games since Embiid played, which is a much tougher defensive matchup, and I'm not saying Bam isn't a good price here, but Bam's usage is down to like 20% and Butler's is up to 30%.
Yeah, and last game it was a little bit. So last game Bam was at like 16, Butler was at 25, which was a little bit of a drop off. But
I think also that game was just never competitive.
Right. Yeah, and overall in this series, Butler at 28.3%, 1.33 DraftKings points per minute. The other thing with Butler though is that in addition to the increase in usage, normally when you see a bump in usage for somebody, you see their assist percentage drop, but that hasn't been the case for Butler. He also has a 27.9% assist percentage in the series. Lowry being out certainly shouldn't hurt that. He's rebounding at a high rate as well. So, I think it's a situation where Butler, if you just tell me Butler is 9,800 and you don't tell me anybody else's salaries on this slate, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Butler is still, it's probably like a correct price tag. He still has a bit of a ceiling there. The issue is just that, there's some other guys that are also good that are cheaper. Bam at 7,400, I think offers some value as well. Certainly has been, disappointing in spots in this series, including last game. Definitely has a difficult matchup now that Embiid is back, but you're also talking about a pretty cheap price tag on him.
Where do you want to go with some of these other options, like Strus coming off how about a Max Strus double-double in the postseason? That was interesting.
Yeah, huge Max Strus game.
So you've got Strus, you have Tyler Herro, who has been, those 2 games in Philly, Tyler Herro was a ghost. Just non-existent. You might see an aberration and say, okay, that might be Tyler Herro because you didn't know he was out there unless he was bricking stuff up. Of course, I know in the one game, he was like, he's 5 for 15, he's 4 for 12. He just missed so many like wide open shots, but he's 6K. He's going to play in a competitive game, 33, 34 minutes, like we saw in the 2 close games already in this series. Is that a good price point for a guy that when he gets hot can start to light it up?
I think it's a pretty good price point given the ceiling. He's obviously volatile because 1, he's relatively scoring dependent. 2, if this game does blow out, he's probably just losing minutes. Last game he got like 22 minutes. And I know you pointed out a lot when guys, sixth guys, can be impacted pretty heavily by blowouts because they're reliant on those minutes down the stretch. So those are the negatives, but the price tag's also coming down. He's projected for about 27% ownership. So I don't think he's a priority, but certainly as a mid-range guy, there is at least a ceiling there.
How about if we were to, tie up the rest of Miami with Gabe Vincent we can get into Strus a little bit more. Dwayne Deadman is 3K. He's pulling ownership because value is limited on this slate. PJ Tucker, and then Oladipo's prices come up. Let's actually start with Depot. Are you looking? And last game, I don't know what you make of this because Depot didn't play. He didn't even come in until the start of the second quarter. Plays the entire second quarter, right? Gabe Vincent was struggling. He didn't play at all in the second quarter. Then Gabe Vincent plays the entire third quarter, also gets the blowout run. So plays through a 37-point blowout. But Victor Oladipo also comes back in the third through midway through the fourth and subs out with most of the starters instead of getting that blowout run that Gabe Vincent, who started, in fact, got.
Yeah, Vincent, that blowout run kind of saved him at the end of the game. Who were you saying subbed out?
I'm saying Oladipo, even though he
Yeah.
didn't come in till the start of the second quarter, he came out basically with the starters in that blowout.
Yeah, the Oladipo rotation was weird. Like
Very
he
weird.
subbed in, like you said, he played the entire second quarter. Basically, I assume was going to play the entire fourth, maybe. That would be my best guess is what was going to happen. So I think like my assumption here is that you're getting around 24 minutes from Oladipo. Based on the rotations last game, I think expecting around 24 minutes from Vincent makes sense too. I'm not confident in either of those. Like I think that it is volatile. You know, if Vincent's playing well, he certainly can play more. If Oladipo's playing well, he certainly can play more. The thing that I just keep coming back to with Oladipo is that the fit with Butler is weird. So it makes it really difficult, even with Lowry out. Like with Lowry out, there's definitely more minutes available for Oladipo. I think that goes without saying. I just still have a really hard time completely trusting Oladipo because of Jimmy Butler being active.
I have some concerns with that as well. But all right. So then, knowing what we know, how do you approach Gabe Vincent? Like, how do you approach someone like him today, given that odd rotation when he was struggling?
Yeah, I mean, he's 4,400, so he's just another guy on this slate, and it's what we've seen with these two games really for the entirety of the series. He's cheap enough where he's going to let you get good players into your lineup, but he's also pulling 20% ownership, and there's just no real guarantee on his playing time. Like without the garbage time last game, he was well on his way to a pretty awful performance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if let's say he plays well, because he didn't play it all in the second quarter. Let's say he plays well in the first quarter and he gets more minutes in the second quarter, then he could still be a good value. So it's just a really volatile situation. He's not a great point per minute guy. He's not bad either, though. So for the series, he's at 0.65. I think in the regular season, he was around 0.75. So the way I see it now is kind of just, it's like a necessary evil in some lineups just to say, you know, all right, Vincent's in there because it opens up some other stuff. But it's certainly not somebody that I would argue is underpriced or anything.
Anybody else for Miami worth touching on for a two-gamer? We got to hit on. Deadman getting 20%. I think we would be remiss to not talk about that.
Yeah, it speaks to this slate as well. 3K flat salary. He's probably going to play 10 to 12 minutes. Played 12 last game. He's a good point per minute guy, but the problem is, you know, like he's never playing alongside Bam. So the only way he really gets more minutes is if Bam gets in foul trouble. But even then, you could just see more of those small ball lineups with like PJ Tucker at the 5. So it's more so just value is so thin on this slate that getting, let's say, 10, 11, 12 points from Dwayne Deadman at minimum salary, it's not about what he's doing so much as it is opening other stuff up. Like when you think about the other cheap value guys that you can go to, it's not like JaVale McGee is a whole lot safer. It's not like, I mean, Cameron Payne literally played 4 minutes last game. So there's not really alternatives in this $3,500 or below range that look that good.
Excuse me. Did you see the one report on Jerry Jeudy?
Which, I mean, I saw that he got arrested.
Yeah, but just listen to this. Professional football player Jerry Jeudy has been arrested at Arapahoe County Sheriff deputies. He's being held at the Arapahoe, and if I'm mispronouncing that, and you know how to pronounce it, I'll take your word. What?
Arapahoe.
Is it Arapahoe?
I think so.
Okay, Arapahoe. Thank you. Arapahoe County. He's being held at the Arapahoe County Jail on charges of second-degree criminal tampering with a domestic violence enhancer, a misdemeanor. So you went to law school for a little bit. By the way, innocent until proven guilty. Yes, sir. What is tampering with the domestic violence enhancer?
I have no idea. I spent a little bit of time on Twitter trying to find the answer. Still didn't really understand anything I read. It seemed like people's best guess were that he like destroyed an ex's property or something.
Yeah, I just don't know what a domestic violence enhancer is. I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, I don't know what any of it is. It didn't. None of it sounded particularly serious. I know I read that like the maximum punishment for the whatever the first charge was, the main charge was like 120 days, but that the domestic violence thing could bring a harsher penalty.
Okay. Jeff McLean said my buddy's a lieutenant, and even he was confused by the word. Yeah, it's weird, but innocent until proven guilty. I was just curious if you knew what that was because I was entirely clueless on it. I have no idea what it meant. You want to talk Philly here?
Yeah.
Was there anything else for Miami?
No, I think that was it for Miami. We talked about Deadman. I mean, yeah. So I guess just to kind of reiterate, Strus and Tucker, like they are what they are. They're the same thing that they've been for this entire series. They're relatively inexpensive pieces. Strus is averaging 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute. Tucker's at 0.62. They're likely to play around 30 minutes. If you get to them, you get to them. But I wouldn't be going out of my way to prioritize them, and I'm not letting Strus's last game impact that either.
All right. So our boy Ghetto Farmer Boy in chat was just asking me what are the best bets today before he crosses state lines. And yeah, I do the Awesemo, the best bets video for NBA 5 days a week. So if you are into that type of stuff, number one, would love to have you over there. Number two, if you like free money, take advantage of BetMGM. All of these books want your business, and that's a good thing because they're willing to throw free money at you in order to acquire that. BetMGM, you throw that link in the description too, Jordan. It's in the chat. It's in the description too. It's super easy. You click the link, you sign up, right? If you're a new user, you deposit $10. All it is, you can do more if you want, but $10. Bet any team to win tonight. And if either team hits a 3, they will. Either team hits a 3, that 10 turns into $200. Bing, bang, boom. Seriously, it's that simple. If someone's on the street trying to hand you some free money, you're going to look at them odd, but then you're going to take that money. So take the free money, $10 into 200. Sign up, deposit $10 or more, bet $10 on any team to win. If a team in that game hits a 3, that 10 turns into 200 over at BetMGM. And take the unders on Dinwiddie again today. They keep putting them out there while you're over there. All right. Talk to me about Joel Embiid. I got Greg's take on it. I gave my opinion on it this morning. What's your opinion right now on Joel Embiid tonight, coming off that awful game?
It's pretty much the same as it has been. Like $9,700 for Embiid, just given the talent level, is not bad. Like obviously he's capable of going out there and having a monster game. Like think about Jason Tatum, right? Had all these terrible games, and we dive into the numbers. We say this is why he's not performing well from a fantasy standpoint, blah blah blah. But he's still Jason Tatum, and he's still capable of going out there and piling up huge games like we've seen in the last couple. It's kind of the same thing for Embiid, except you are dealing with the injury as well. Difficult matchup. Has a 25.7% usage rate in the series. So that is down quite a bit from the regular season. 16% rebounding percentage is down a bit. He's actually averaging a little below 1 fantasy point per minute in 107 minutes in this series, which for Embiid, I mean, that's a huge, huge drop off. So all of those things are concerns. And it's why I was saying that I think Butler being the same price as Embiid makes sense, just given the matchups, given what they've been able to do in said matchups. But you're still talking about Joel Embiid at sub 10K. There is still upside there. So really situations like that where I do think the projection comes down for a variety of reasons, one being the matchup, two being the health. I think ownership plays a role, and right now he's getting 34%. So that does make it kind of difficult for me. Like Harden is $1,000 less, getting basically the same ownership. Luka, who clearly is more and is relatively difficult to get to, but he's getting 41% to Embiid's 34. Jimmy Butler's getting 28%. Given all of those things, I think it's going to be kind of difficult for me to get to Embiid.
I understand wanting to go against the narrative that Embiid isn't right. And, you want to play Joel Embiid because maybe he is right. It's possible. But like you said, first off, he's not getting very low ownership. That price tag is pretty appealing, but it's already a pretty difficult matchup. Would you agree that a lot of things still have to go right, even at this $9,700 price point, given the ownership? Like a lot of things kind of have to go right for him, it feels like.
Yeah, and the other part of this, and it goes hand in hand with what we were saying about the ownership on other players, but kind of just to elaborate on that, I guess, is that to go right doesn't mean for Embiid to get 50 or 55 fantasy points. It means for Embiid to actually beat all of these other players.
Yeah.
And especially with the lack of value on this slate, if Embiid scores, let's say he scores 50, but like Devin Booker goes for 55 or Harden goes for 55 or Paul or whoever, because you're not going to be able to just like jam several of those guys into the same lineup very easily, it makes a really big difference. Like you really need Embiid to beat all of those guys, and then also Luka not to just destroy him at the top end. So that's what makes it tough. It's not even just looking at that $9,700 price in a vacuum. It's that he has to beat all these guys that he's the same price as or more expensive than in a very difficult matchup that he hasn't had any success in, with a broken face and a torn thumb.
Right. Yeah, it's not good. It's not to say you can't do it, but you make a good point. It's not just getting to 50. Like just getting to 50 isn't, and not, maybe it is. Maybe at 9,700, maybe Luka has another game at 50 or whatever, and it gets there, but it seems unlikely. Miles Kelly official. BetMGM just gave me the 4 free $50 bets before the game right now. Used your promo. Thanks, y'all. Perfect timing. Yeah. And it's actually, I actually like that they do 4 $50 bets because there's no playthrough or anything. Like you don't have to play through it 20 times. Like you see, you get these slot bonuses and it's like play through it 700 times and you will get to unlock your funds. With this, that's not the case. You make smart decisions, follow our betting advice, check out Odd Shopper, and you're turning that into some good cash. So glad to see they paid that out already, Miles. Good stuff. All right. So James Harden, let's talk about the beard here. He came off one great game back to a terrible game. The entire Sixers team was non-existent, right? They were flat to say the least, but he's 8,700 and he still has relatively high usage, a high assist rate. He's still doing a lot for this team. Is he one of your favorite plays on the slate still?
At that price, I think you still kind of have to like him. Favorite is probably being used a little bit strong. Like I still like the Phoenix guards a little bit more, but at that price, he's fine. Like he's averaging a fantasy point per minute in this series. He's likely to give you 40 plus minutes tonight. They have to win this game. There's not, you don't have quite the same, blowout concerns. One, because they're at home and it's less likely that Miami just runs them off the floor. But two, they should have a much longer leash. Last game, you still knew you had another game to play, so there's no point in running them into the ground at the end. Here, you have the offseason if you're getting beat. So it would be very surprising if Harden doesn't play 40 plus minutes here. And he's just at a price point where even if you just take that average production, you're not happy with 40, 41, 42 fantasy points at 8,700, but it's not the end of the world on a 2-game slate. And we certainly know that James Harden is at least capable of doing better. So 26.5% usage rate in the series, 30% assist percentage. We know the assist percentage increases with Embiid back as well. So I do like Harden more than Embiid at their current prices.
Do you like Harden more than, say, Devin Booker?
No.
No?
I mean, I think they're close, but I probably answered that faster than I should have. But no, I give the edge to Booker.
Okay. How about Harris and Maxey?
Their prices have come down a little bit. They're going to play a lot of minutes. The issue is just where do the shots come from with Harden and Embiid both playing? Last game, you got an 18.7% usage rate for Harris. That's pretty much in line with what we've seen from him when Embiid and Harden play. I think even going back to the regular season, he had about an 18% usage rate. Maxey in that last game had a 20% usage rate, which is a little bit higher than we had seen at least in the game before. But they're just both at price points where I don't feel confident that they really exceed those prices, but also they're just going to play so many minutes that they're certainly still playable here. I think they're kind of comparable to Tyler Herro on the other side of this game, except for you can at least feel more, you can feel more confident in the playing time for guys like Maxey and Harris. You feel more confident in the usage of somebody like Herro.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comparison for sure. I don't know how many times you and I have talked about this. Well, this would be the 6th time now, but you have Danny Green, and then his minutes could be 36 or 22. It's really tough to say. And we've seen it even since the beginning of that Toronto series that went 6. You don't know how many minutes Danny Green is going to play. Once you get past him, though, Paul Reed, if it's a close game and they're favored by 2, there's no reason to believe it shouldn't be. Paul Reed gets the backup minutes behind Embiid. Could he go for 25 in 10 minutes? Sure. But, it's not easy. And then Milton, George Niang, like Thibault, all of these guys they don't put it this way. They don't have any key bench players like you have in Tyler Herro, who's going to play big minutes off the bench.
Yeah,
or Maxi
exactly.
Kleber even, who plays 34 minutes in back-to-back games off the bench.
Right. Danny Green is the Philadelphia version from a fantasy standpoint of Gabe Vincent.
Sure.
He's 4,200. He's not very good on a point per minute basis. If he plays 34 minutes, he's probably going to be one of the better cheap values. If he plays 24 minutes, he's probably going to absolutely suck. But you're going to end up with him in a good amount of lineups just because you don't have that many alternatives. And then as far as the rest of the cheap guys here go, I mean, Paul Reed was useful last game. Still didn't play a lot. Played a total of 16 minutes, including garbage time. But he's in the Dwayne Deadman category, at least, where he's a good point per minute guy. Let's say he plays 10 minutes here. He could do okay. 15% ownership and a little bit more expensive than Deadman at 3,600. But the same kind of thing where if this were the Memphis slate where you have all that value, you wouldn't even mention Paul Reed's name. But on this slate, if you're playing 150 lineups at least, he's somebody that you're going to get some of just because there's no good cheap options.
And then the rest of the bench is just the rest of the bench. There's nothing really there.
More of the same. I mean, Milton would have played like 10 minutes. Dybul played 10 minutes. Korkmaz wasn't in the rotation until garbage time. Niang played like 14 minutes. There's just nothing. There's not one guy off the bench for Philadelphia that you're going to point to and say like, oh yeah, this is the guy that you want to play. You kind of just have to know. The way I think about it, if I am, sort of rotating through them, is just get to the good point per minute guys first, because you can't look at any of these rotations, any of Philadelphia's rotations, and say like, oh yeah, Shake Milton's going to play a bunch this game. Like I know that, or Niang's going to play a bunch or whatever. But at least with like Paul Reed, he's a good point per minute guy. And if Embiid were to, get hurt again, then Reed's going to get it done at 3,600. Shake Milton at 3,100. In 10 minutes, probably not getting it done. But something happens and Shake Milton plays 18 minutes, he's going to be good. So that's kind of how I view situations like this. Like I do give priority to guys like Reed and Milton, where I know like at least if they get the minutes for some unforeseen reason, they're going to do something with it, as opposed to, like Niang or Dybul, where you're more likely to just be like, oh, cool, he played 8 extra minutes and scored 3 extra points.
Yes, exactly. Jordan, Chris G's asking for the promo for MGM. Can you put that in chat, please? And yes, Nick, I agree. Take advantage. He said, I'll do any promo if they give it to me. Yeah, of course. Miguel McDonald, you throw that in chat for me? Thanks. Miguel McDonald. So Laffy, using that same logic with Embiid, does it make Butler the best player on the slate if he goes for 55? Not if Doncic goes for 75.
Right.
I mean, there's no real way to say. It's what Adam was saying is that like Embiid getting there, 50 is not your target score.
Right. My point was that like Embiid getting there is at least in some part dependent on the other players, which is what you were just saying about Luka. Because of the lack of value on this slate, it's so assuming that like Embiid doesn't go for 80 and Luka goes for 100, in which case it doesn't matter, what your value did. Like you're going to need both guys. But like there's not really a score where you're just like, oh yeah, Embiid got there, because if Luka beats him by 20 or 30, you're probably going to need Luka. If Embiid does quote unquote well and still loses to Devin Booker or James Harden or both, it still wasn't good enough. So like that's kind of the thing. It's not only does he need to outperform his salary like everybody does, but he still needs to beat all of those other players. It's not as simple as just saying like, oh yeah, I think he can do okay for 9,700.
Anything else for Philly?
No.
All right. Let's move this one forward. One up, one down. First though, it's Awesemo Hall of Fame. It is our job here to shout out all of our friends who have submitted to us, who get that free month, you get a free month, Awesemo plus Platinum. All of those people who submit to Awesemo Hall of Fame and want to get inducted. That's what I'm here to do right now. You're wondering what it is. Jordan already threw it up on the screen. And all you have to do is download the Awesemo profile picture at awesemo.com/avatar. Use it wherever you want. DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, wherever it is that you prefer to play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and tweet us your wins at Awesemo, HOF. It's Awesemo Hall of Fame. Include us in it as well, because we like seeing that. And you'll not only get inducted right here into the Hall of Fame, but you'll get a free month of Awesemo plus Platinum. It's a $90 value. And even if you don't qualify for the free month, but you're proud of the win and you want to get up here, shoot it over to us anyway, and we'll see what we can do. So let's make this happen. Have you seen the run I'll get there actually. In the guard first. We'll go in the guard. I know this isn't technically Hall of Fame worthy. Like I said, see, Hall of Fame worthy, but no way I take down this is esports showdown. What is that? Counter-Strike? What's the GO stand for?
You're asking
Adam,
the wrong person.
I figured you would know, like from quarantine or something.
I mean, I play. Well, I didn't play this. I played League of Legends in quarantine.
CS stands for Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike,
though, right?
yeah, but I didn't even know that for a long time.
Okay. Anyway, Showdown GBP without your tools, $200. Oh, no way got it. Oh, he's saying he did use the tools. It's like, why did we put this up here? This guy's saying somebody's getting fired, and I'll make sure of it. Now, congrats, man. Silverback won $200. Look at that. Holding a Silverback holding an Awesemo logo. Christopher Perello, and by the way, you can't alter him if you want to get that free month, even though that was cool. He didn't qualify anyway. Quarter jukebox, $100. That dude, they're tough to win, man. Very tough to win. Congrats, Christopher. Oh, this is a huge one. Ugly 8 game. Awesemo projections, tools, and staff. Best in the business, period. Josh Engelman. Oh, listen up, chat. Listen up. Sound the alarm. Josh Engelman is the best teacher in the industry. His content has taught me how to think and understand DFS. Ooh, chew on that. 100K, huge win. Congrats, man. I love to see it. John Wolf, first attempt at 150 lineups in the 50-cent Minimax, took down first, third, fifth, and 8th place. That's awesome. Congrats. And then you've got, what I was going to ask, Adam, did you see the run that Shanzon's been on in MLB?
Yeah, I think Alex said he's taken down like the $700 like 3 times or something.
Yesterday was the 4th time.
Oh, he did it again yesterday?
He did it again yesterday. Nuts. Another 100K win from Shanzon. This is not a new, there it is. Look, first and second, did it again, the Mega 8s, 100K. By the way, Shanzon is one of the guys that works on our tools, that has like an insane amount of influence on the tools that we have at Awesemo, along with Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, Steve Buzzard, all those guys. So if you're ever wondering if it's worth getting an Awesemo subscription and checking out the tools that we have, well, that should answer your question. Anyway, congrats to all you guys. You've now been formally inducted into the Hall of Fame, and welcome back if you've been here before. Get that avatar. Shout us out at Awesemo HOF, and we'll hit you up right here. All right, let's talk about the Dallas Mavs hosting the Phoenix Suns. We'll start with the Suns, actually, Adam. So Devin Booker, you said you like him more than Harden today a little bit, huh?
Yeah, slight edge. I think just he's not contending with Joel Embiid. I think, again, it's very close. I'm not going to argue heavily in favor of Booker if somebody disagrees and wants to go Harden. I think they're both good plays. But in the series, Booker, a 30.6% usage rate, 1.13 DraftKings points per minute. So averaging 1.1 fantasy points per minute more than Harden. Usage rate is a couple of points higher. Still a 22% assist percentage as well. And I think just even though Dallas is good defensively, I think a little bit more favorable matchup for Phoenix.
Okay, that's fair. Chris Paul has, I got suckered into this today. Chris Paul over 1.5 steals. It was at plus 154. Again, pretty big plus money on 1.5 steals. The guy in the regular season averaged like 2 steals per game almost. He hasn't looked the same, but I'm going back there today. It's been an odd stretch for him, bro. Like if you look at the last game against New Orleans, right? Game 6, he had a perfect game. You and I talked about this at length. Perfect game outside of a couple turnovers. 14 for 14, 6 of 6 from the chariot, or 4 of 4 from the line. Amazing game. And then he had a couple fine games. The assist totals started to decline. And the last 3 games, even with the foul out, he has looked like a shell of himself. I mean, like that.
Yeah, the usage rate's up a little bit, and the assist percentage is down more than a little bit. For the series, he's at about a fantasy point per minute, 21% usage rate, 29% assist percentage. The average playing time in the series is down just as a result of 1, the game where he fouled out, and then 2 blowouts. Like last game, he still played 34 minutes, but would have played more, I assume, had that game been competitive. The price tag's still pretty affordable, though. So this is another situation kind of like Embiid, where I do think the ownership plays a big role. And right now we have him at 34%. So it's not like you're getting, he's not projected at least to, really be giving you any sort of ownership discount for his poor performance. At least we don't have the same injury concerns. I mean, if he's injured, it's not public knowledge as far as I know, like it is with Embiid. So I still like getting the ball, but I still think that like the $8,800 or the $800 difference to Booker, if you can find it, still looks pretty good.
Okay. 2 things. Someone said that the GO stands for go. Actually, a lot of people said
Global offensive.
Correct. I mean, come on now. That would be absurd. And I'd feel very dumb. Someone else said that must have been Josh's burner account. If that is a burner for Josh, it would be the most epic thing ever, because this dude just won $100,000, but doesn't want his own name being out there. I mean, could you imagine? Just so someone could shout him out on the Hall of Fame. Amazing stuff what people come up with.
Wait, they were saying that was Josh's what?
They're saying, did you hear me read the one that was saying how thanks to Josh? In the Hall of Fame, the guy was like, thanks, I owe it all to Josh Engelman for teaching me DFS, and he won 100K. And they're saying,
I mean, so I knew the guy won 100K, but I thought he tagged like 8 of us in that.
That must have been after. And then, some genius decided not to use the one that tags everybody in it.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding. But
got it. Okay. Yeah. So I had seen the one that I was tagged in.
Right. Me too. Until I just read this one. I was caught off guard, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some people that see that and they just recoil. It's just what if that actually was Josh, is Josh, and Josh actually just doesn't have an ego at all and just doesn't even tell anybody when he wins 100K? That's why I said it would be the most epic thing ever if he was really disguising himself to win 6 figures.
Right.
And right, you're saying like he is just had a complete ego death.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the psychedelics, ego death, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna play this guy, and I'm gonna play the heel just to give people something. Just people need to feel. Everyone's dead inside. They just need to feel. And I'll be that guy. I will sacrifice myself and be that guy that people are not fond of sometimes. But then I'm going to go win 6 figures and thank myself. I mean, that would be something special. All right. Malachi said he would step over 100K. Are you familiar with that? Where I asked him.
Yeah. He said he wouldn't pick up like $20 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, what if you could just give it to a homeless person? He's
right.
Like,
that's my answer is like,
just give it to someone who needs it.
Right. I mean, chances are I would just pick it up. Like I'd pick it up regardless. And then if I happen,
$20.
Right. I'll be like, yeah, cool. $20, whatever. And then wherever I'm walking, I'm probably going to pass a homeless person and I would give it to them. And if I didn't, I would keep it. Like it's not like I'm going to throw it back on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. I always said he'd kick it into the closest sewer grate.
Right. But like not picking it up is just absurd.
I don't want it, but I don't want anyone else to have it either. Oh God. All right. Where are we at for the rest of, because we talked about the 2 big ones here with Paul and Devin Booker. DeAndre Ayton. Here's another one. And while we're doing this, let's just talk about both sides of this one in the center rotation. Do you think McGee is the third wheel here today? Do you think Bismack Biyombo gets a decent amount of minutes? And how does all of that factor in from a DFS standpoint with Ayton, Bismack Biyombo, and JaVale McGee on a 2-game slate?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a tough one to project because on the one hand, it's scary to just give Biyombo the McGee minutes, but on the other hand, Biyombo subbed in first last game. McGee played a total of 3 minutes. Biyombo was the only one that played in the second half, both garbage time and regular rotation minutes. So I'm certainly not giving Biyombo 21 minutes again. Ayton only played 22, but I do, and that was in part because of fouls. He picked up, it looks like 2 fouls in the first quarter. Picked up his third. I don't know when, but he definitely lost some time in the first quarter and lost time in the fourth. So, but even if you say like, all right, Ayton plays his 33, 34 minutes, Biyombo at 3,200 plays 13 or 14, then Biyombo's going to look like a Dwayne Deadman type value play. The concern, the flip side is what if it's just McGee? So I think I would put it at better than 50-50 that it's Biyombo, just based on what we saw last game. If you're playing 150 lineups and you want to still project McGee for some minutes and then just set a rule that you only get one of them, I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world. Like rotations do change. Perfect examples yesterday with D'Anthony Melton just coming back from the dead. But I assume it's Biyombo as the backup at this point.
8 games in chat. He said the process show by Justice really would help me. I think I've watched all of his content. It's a phenomenal show. Yeah, we're joking here, but it's an excellent show. It really is.
Never seen it.
But no, of course you haven't. But it's a good show, and a lot of people really love it. They really do. I mean, it's way too early for me. 6 in the morning or 6:30 a.m. but you can watch it after the fact, or some people are early risers, you know?
Yeah, I do like knowing what it's about. It sounds like a quality show. And again, I've said this before, like I'm definitely better at DFS than Josh, but process wise, like I've definitely taken some stuff from him, or at least, talk through it with him. And he's made me better, even though he can't get to my level.
The student becomes the teacher, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've taken a lot of stuff from Alex too, but like Josh specifically with Excel has helped me a lot. And then just like talking through stuff with him.
He's a whiz with Excel. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What was I going to say here? Somebody was asking about groups earlier with Miami, and I think it would be important for us just to hit on this for a second, because maybe you disagree with me, but I definitely think on these short, abbreviated, especially 2-game slates, that people get a little bit too bogged down by that. Like normally on a 8-gamer, you never want to play your backup center with a center, but if you just don't have a lot of value, is it really that taboo to go with, and maybe not even on this specific slate, but to play a backup center with a center if maybe he gets 15 minutes and the center gets 33 minutes and the 15 minutes turns into 25 fantasy points?
I think that's fine. Like I don't have an issue playing Ayton Biyombo together or Ayton McGee together. I certainly wouldn't, if you do what I was saying, where you just like give minutes to McGee and Biyombo so that you get some of each one, because we don't really know what the rotation is going to be. I certainly wouldn't want those two together.
No, of course
one
not.
of them is playing.
But I just meant there's situations on these short slates where you can make exceptions.
Yeah, and because and we talk about this a lot, but like the reason typically that you're setting groups to limit getting guys together is because of the opportunity cost for positions. On a 2-game slate, opportunity cost is lower. And then on this specific slate where you have no cheap value, the opportunity cost is even lower. Like you can get 33 minutes from DeAndre Ayton, 15 minutes from Bismack Biyombo. Bismack's 15 fantasy points at 3,200 are the best that any of the sub $3,500 guys do. And Ayton has a good game in 33 minutes and you need them both. Like that's completely reasonable. They can both hit their projection and be good plays on a slate this small with such little value.
Talk to me about actually, hold on. A couple super chats here. Where are my DMs, Jordan? Oh, you sent him? Oh, I'm an asshole, huh? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Rays fan. Why do I doubt this guy? Always makes me look like an idiot. Rays fan 22, top 2 priorities for DK tournaments. Thanks. Who are your top 2 priorities for DraftKings tournaments?
All right, let me get the ownership pulled back up. So I like Brunson.
My filler arc super chatted just to say who the hell is Josh.
So we haven't talked about Dallas yet, but Brunson's we have Brunson as like the most under-owned player on DraftKings right now at 6,300. That makes sense to me. He's coming off of a bad game, but there were a lot of reasons I liked him last game. I still like him here. So 39% ownership, but 2-game slate, projected to be under-owned. And then we do have Chris Paul going under-owned. I think he's interesting just because you do have more ownership coming into Booker, you have more ownership coming into Harden. I think those guys deserve more ownership, but also 32% for somebody like Chris Paul that we know is at least capable of going out there and throwing up 50 fantasy points is pretty appealing to me. So if we're talking like under-owned guys, in that question, like what was the specific wording?
For his
top 2 priorities. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I would say those are the 2 like under-owned guys in terms of priorities, like just guys that I would expect that I'm playing a lot of. I think Brunson at 6,300 probably still up there. And then probably like Booker or Harden, whichever you prefer.
8-game. Were you actually working at the Dollar General and just quit? That'd be the sickest flex ever. Last one, Jake Lindland, DraftKings GPP, 3 players sub 4K that don't make you sick.
There aren't any.
Yeah, they're all going to make you sick. Okay. Which ones, give you the hangover, but not a debilitating hangover where you can't keep food or water down?
Right. Deadman, because he's 3K flat and that'll open some stuff up. Biyombo or McGee. I'm assuming Biyombo, but, and then the third one, like, I guess Paul Reed.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's all centers too. All centers.
Yeah, like as far as the non-centers go, like
There's
I mean,
nothing.
Payne played
Landry
4 minutes.
Shamet.
It would be like Payne, and you hope he plays more, or you hope Milton gets more minutes for some reason.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else for Phoenix that you want to hit on that's important?
Oh, Dwight Powell too is going to play like 10 minutes or whatever at 3,200. So he's just another the same thing, like a cheap center that is probably going to suck. What'd you ask?
Well, actually, hold on. Did you mention Bertans?
Oh, actually, no, I didn't.
He's 3,100. He closed. Well, not closed, but
yeah, he got up
that
to
game
almost
got
20
out of
minutes
hand.
last game.
What?
I said, yeah, he got up to almost 20 minutes last game, so throw him in there too. I missed him.
Any other thoughts on Phoenix before we wrap it up with Dallas?
I kind of alluded to it a second ago. Cameron Payne was not in the rotation last game. He played 4 minutes at the end of the game. Landry Shamet played 19 minutes. Cameron Johnson played 25. I assume they're going with that rotation again. You know, like again, I'm just guessing that you get Biyombo and that you get the more minutes for Shamet and nothing for Payne here. But that's not set in stone. So if you are not risk averse and you are playing a lot of lineups and you want to mix in a little bit of $3,300 Payne and just hope that you get him randomly reinserted into the rotation, that's fine. But I wouldn't be confident in that. And similarly, I do think you can project a few more minutes for Landry Shamet. The problem is just that he's not a very good point per minute guy.
Been having so much fun. I forgot to ask for likes this entire show. We're at 250, 1,500 people watching. I mean, oh my God. Take a second, single second, hit that thumbs up. Helps us greatly. Otherwise, I would not even bother to ask you. Usually would have better things to do, but it helps us a ton. So if you like this stuff, get us to, I mean, we need what, 144 to get to 400 with 1,500 people watching and 7 minutes to go. It's doable. I have faith. Help us combat the YouTube overlords. Bring a good one back. All right. And also we got free tools on the site today. Player rankings for NBA, MLB main slate ownership, and NHL ownership projections, all entirely free. Let's talk about Dallas. Luka, I don't think there's a ton to get into here. He's the best play on the slate, but is there anything you want to add from just a roster construction standpoint?
Yeah, what I would add is that he's not nearly as like necessary as Giannis was yesterday. Just because obviously he could be. If he scores 65, 70 DraftKings points, you're going to need to find a way to get to him. But the point being, like yesterday, Giannis was just like, you play him because it's so easy. There's so many good cheap plays. It's a lot easier to see a path on this slate where you don't need Luka to win. You just go more balanced. All of the really cheap guys end up sucking like they should. And then Luka scores like 55 and you're okay because you got 48 or 50 from Harden or Booker or whoever. So that's why the ownership is a little bit lower on Luka. And it's also why I think I'll just end up with less Luka today than I had of Giannis yesterday. Not to say I don't like Luka. I had nearly 100% Giannis. It's just much more difficult to get to him. But very, very clearly the top projected guy on the slate. After him, again, I think Brunson's the top play for me from Dallas. He's seen increased usage overall in the series, played 35 minutes last game, only had like 32 DraftKings points, but at 6,300, it's not even like that's the end of the world. And once again, had 33% usage. He just didn't put it all together, but I think he's pretty clearly underpriced here, and he's one of my favorite mid-range plays.
So thank you, Jordan. 8Game just said this, and I'm not trying to go all over the place here, but this is awesome. Modern day success story in the DFS space. This should have been your Hall of Fame tweet. Ready for this, Adam? I was on leave of absence due to a shoulder injury. I'm not going back. I've won 150K this year from DFS. I used to bring home 30K a year.
That seems good.
Awesome stuff.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, man. Love seeing that stuff. We actually have had plenty of people that are like, hey, dude, I was doing this and I'm not anymore. So it makes me happy to see that. Yeah, should have led with that. All right. So who else do we need to get into? I'm looking at Brunson you talked about already. You really like Brunson today. I think you should at 6,300. He's really made a name for himself this postseason, beginning with Luka out. You know what's impressive with him, though, is how he's managed to maintain like an integral role in this team, even after Luka came back.
Yeah, for sure. And like even in the series, a 28% usage rate for Brunson, just a 48% true shooting percentage.
No question. So this would be my next thing. And then we can get into, because these guys don't matter as much, the Bullocks and the Finney-Smiths. We have a good idea of what we know they're going to play a ton of minutes. We know they're not good per minute producers, but they're going to play a ton of minutes. But what do you make of this debacle with Dinwiddie, Kleber, and Bertans? Because Dinwiddie's minutes, I mentioned this. I told you we were on the unders last game. We're doing it again this game. We're on 3 games in a row now. We're going to keep riding that wave until it crashes. He went from playing 30 minutes in game 1 to playing 28, 24, 19, 16. But then it was Kleber in games 3 and 4 that closed it out, played 34 plus minutes. But Bertans got some more minutes last game, and Kleber was the one that wasn't getting it. Like, what do we expect to see from Jason Kidd out of this, like this 6th, well, I should say 5th guy, really, because it's not Dwight Powell.
I expect whoever is making 3-pointers to play more.
Pretty much, right? Like that's
Which, like, obviously that sounds like a easy answer, but the way that you kind of can use that in DFS, obviously going in, you're not going to know who that is, but knowing that volatility is there does make me want to pay attention to the ownership, particularly between Kleber and Bertans. Right now, 24% coming to Bertans because he's only 3,100. Kleber getting 20% at 5,200. So I think, the ownership is there on Bertans, and I think that's fine. I had said before, I kind of overlooked him when I was looking through the cheap guys. You're still not going to be confident in him, but he's around a 0.75 to 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. And if he plays well, there are more minutes there. And that's really, really important when you're trying to think about upside for guys. If you talk about somebody like Paul Reed, right? No matter what Paul Reed is doing, as long as Embiid is not in foul trouble and the game is competitive, Paul Reed is not taking minutes from Joel Embiid. If Davis Bertans comes out there and just knocks down his first 3 or 4 threes, not only did he basically just already pay off his salary, but he's going to play more minutes because the guy ahead of him that he's taking them from isn't that good. So that's always nice having situations like that. The flip side is that Kleber is somebody that had been getting a ton of ownership at this price tag on these slates, and then you get one game where he shoots poorly. He shot 1 for 5 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 11 fantasy points, and now his ownership comes down. So, he's obviously riskier because the price tag's expensive, but I like getting to either of those guys just kind of for different reasons.
Josh of Los Angeles said in chat, he said Dinwiddie's too cheap, not going crazy with him, but Dinwiddie gets a look from me. And I think that's fair if he comes out there and he shoots really well. My concern is twofold. One, I think Doncic plays like almost the whole game. This could be the last game they play. 12% usage rate for Dinwiddie with Doncic on the floor, 12% assist rate, no rebounding rate. But my thing is this more so just a matchup thing where Kidd doesn't want to be this small? And, we saw what worked in games 3 and 4. They got back-to-back wins. They did it again last game, even though they lost, but with Bertans and with Maxi Kleber. Maybe this is by design and Dinwiddie's just kind of the odd man out. What do you think?
I think it could have to do with shooting too. Like Kleber, well, I mean the size factor for Kleber and Bertans too, but like Dinwiddie's better as a facilitator and they don't need that.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, like get some spot up guys out there. You're right. That might be what they need because they just go with this 5 out, right? And they just rip threes. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Before we go, anything else?
So Dinwiddie this year, Dinwiddie shot 33.9% from 3 this season. Kleber was 32.5%. And then Bertans, of course, barely played during the regular season. He was 33.5%. So like, there's not a huge difference in the 3-point shooting there, but I think it's probably a combination of the size and then having those guys out there, knowing that they can shoot threes as effectively as Dinwiddie.
I think so too. Anything else for Dallas before we hand this one over to the Live Before Lock crew?
So I guess just to clarify, the same thing that we kind of talked about with Ayton and his backups, even though I think Bertans and Kleber negatively correlate, I don't hate like if they happen to end up in a lineup together here and there, just because even if Bertans plays 14 minutes, if he gets you, 12, 13 fantasy points, he could conceivably still be okay. So I don't want to do that a lot, but I wouldn't set a rule against it. And then kind of just briefly touched on it, but Finney-Smith and Bullock, they're the cheaper versions of Maxey and Harris, where you're not expecting them to do a ton, but they're likely to be out there enough that they can just pay off their salaries. And then also, like, we did point out all those issues with Dinwiddie, but I agree with whoever that was in chat. If you want to just throw him into some tournament lineups, that's still fine because he hasn't been good in this series. He hasn't been playing a lot, but if he comes out there and somehow does start playing well, he can still pick up those minutes and do well. So I don't feel confident in it, but I wouldn't tell anybody like just play 0 Dinwiddie or anything.
Olrad with the super chat said, nice ring to it. Brunson 64% ownership projection on RG. Who's right? We'll find, but that's not an answer I can give you an hour before lock. But
Brunson in our new one is up to 50.
50. Okay. Yeah. Well, not even an hour before. We're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait that one out. But thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you guys as always. Hanging out. We're 26 likes away for 400. I would like before the live before lock show starts to get there. If not, well, maybe it is the end of the world. I don't know. Maybe you'll see me tomorrow. Maybe not. Depends on what we do here. Stick around. Greg and Eric coming up next. And they're hanging out after lock with you for 30 minutes. Going to be a fun one. Don't go anywhere. Adam and I will catch you back here tomorrow morning on the NBA strategy show, then on the deeper dive. Peace. I think you're on the strategy show. I haven't looked at the schedule.
Tomorrow, yeah.
here. God. Jordan Klein in a better mood though.
He is. He's got more energy today.
Look at that. He's got the beater on. He's like,
oh my God.
It's nice and sunny.
He must have signed the contract for Spider-Man 4 just now.
Welcome everybody. That was a really annoying laugh by me. Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by Odd Shopper. I'm Eric Lindquist. Let's talk through this two-gamer for the sixth time, shall we? Smash that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. All of that goes a long way for myself. For Jordan Klein, happier Jordan Klein behind the paywall here today, behind the virtual glass. I always say paywall. I'm stupid, though. You know who's not? Greg Ehrenberg at Ehrenberg DFS. My dude. Let's get to it, shall we?
Yeah, we've got some interesting rotations to break down again today. So we got very lucky yesterday. We got very lucky in terms of
we also
rotations.
Got so screwed by Kyle Anderson.
I mean, kind of. I played a lot of Showdown the late night and did really well because of Melton, who was 2% owned. But yeah, Anderson also did well in garbage time. But I mean, we've got more really weird rotations to break down today.
Yeah, I just find it ironic. I feel like I've been on the right side of calling Kyle Anderson. I don't know. I've been trying to make him a thing forever. And then I haven't played him the last two slates because I'm like, this is an abysmal play. And then he just smashes my face into smithereens. Well, I guess that's kind of what happened to all of Golden State. But hello to all the usuals in chat. Good to see all of you guys. Yeah, the beat was nasty. It was a nasty beat as we came in here. That is Jordan Klein who's making that happen. What?
Oh, yeah.
Don't give me that look.
No, I was just, what did you call them?
So there's this YouTube guy. I can't even think of the name right now. Instagram guy.
Not him? Somebody else?
It's not him. He's a guy.
Okay.
He's this golf Instagram guy. He just goes nasty pedos. He says that all the time as he hits golf shots. You know who I'm talking about? Jordan Klein? He's hilarious. He's really, really good. Does the Tropicana Golf Club out here in LA. I got to remember the name. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But anyway, wow. Welcome to the show. God, you just derailed this already. Whatever. Let's talk the rotations. So you just kind of alluded to it. So I'm going to ask you before we get into guard, forward, center, going position by position like we always do. What are you specifically looking for in these rotations that you think is really going to make or break what happens on today's slate?
Yeah, so I don't even know if it's going to make or break the slate, but there's no value to be had, at all. If you're looking for cheap guys, it basically doesn't exist. So I'm kind of wondering, what happens if the high-end guys go off? If Luka has a big game, if Embiid has a big game, Harden, these guys are going to be necessary if they have their ceilings, but there's no cheap guys to spend for. And that's where I start to think the way that the Suns changed up their rotation last game, where there was essentially no JaVale McGee or Cameron Payne in the rotation. They got replaced by Bismack Biyombo and Landry Shamet. And considering how easily they won last game, I think that's probably going to be the rotation again today. And earlier today, I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to roster these guys. There's just no way. And then I started building my lineups oh, no, I kind of have to because it's the only way to get up to the upper echelon guys. So I feel like I'm kind of getting forced to play some of these shitty Suns dudes and just hope that the field hasn't realized the change in the Phoenix rotation.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very uncomfortable is the right word. I thought yesterday there were some guys, not just Melton. I mean, if you wanted to go the Kyle Anderson route, I know that worked out very, very nicely. And he's played really well the last two games. I don't think there's any denying that. More of a minutes and opportunity thing that I didn't think would be there again. Well, it got there with the entire closing unit for an entire fourth quarter almost, or for the first half of the fourth quarter. I think today, I'm looking on FanDuel. I built out all my FanDuel stuff before the show. Thought I'd work through some DK as we're going along, but I'm playing guys like Matisse Thybulle to try to get some type of salary savings. I'm playing, I'm not going to play Dwight Powell. I'm not going to get that desperate, but Dwayne Deadman for sure. I'm going to be playing down there at 3,600. That's going to be my path to trying to get to some of those top end guys. And yeah, these shitty Suns dudes, as you put it so eloquently, I am going to have to try to make some of them work. I think Bismack Biyombo has some utility, 3,500 on FanDuel, especially. It's going to be a wonky slate as opposed to yesterday where we had so many pieces of value. Hopefully you all jammed Adams and Tyus, just like we said. Hopefully you played D'Anthony Melton, like Greg said, which he got me on board with. We smashed there. And then you could win some money. I should have made more money yesterday. Nothing like 8 game, 100K. That's beautiful stuff. Even if it is a burner for Josh, congratulations to 8 game. We appreciate that. Greg has no idea what I'm talking about.
No clue at all.
Cool. Let's get into position by position. We start at guard, and you alluded to it. We have some guys who could play some big minutes. Luka Doncic in an elimination spot. James Harden in an elimination spot. I'm sure Devin Booker and Chris Paul would really like to get the hell out of Dallas with a win. But looking up at the top end, I still want to get to Luka. I still think 41% on DK. Maybe he's going to come in even a little bit more than that, but he's the guy that I just feel the most comfortable rostering. First guy into lineups for me on DraftKings and FanDuel alike. I find him to be very, very necessary, more so than Harden, Booker, and Paul, getting to a lot more of Doncic. Are you doing the same, or how are you kind of looking at the top end of guard?
So I wish I was getting to more of Luka, because I have him projected as the highest fantasy score on the slate by a pretty decent margin. Here's the drawback, though. The opportunity, and this is where DraftKings is going to be different than FanDuel, and it's been the case with a lot of these Luka slates, is there's a pretty steep opportunity cost to getting to him where, I mean, we've got Davis Bertans is a chalk play today. It's not because anybody projects him. Well, I guarantee there's nobody who's going like, hey, you know who's going to be really good today? Davis Bertans, but people are playing Bertans anyway over on DK because they're trying to jam in Luka. So when you've got Bertans being owned at 23%, you could see that's the kind of opportunity cost we're talking about when rostering Luka. So earlier in the day when I was doing the strategy show, I thought I was going to get to a lot of Luka. Ultimately, I came in underweight to him in favor of guys like James Harden and Joel Embiid, just because they're cheaper and I'm not comfortably able to get up to his salary.
I get that. I don't think that that's really kind of what's in question. I just also look at it as, all right, if I get 60, 65 out of Luka and I mix a bunch of these guys into a bunch of lineups, if I'm building out one lineup, I'm probably with you, where I think Luka might be a byproduct of all of these different cheapies that I have no idea what to expect out of a minimum salary Dwayne Deadman. Try to make him any kind of a priority, or Paul Reed, somebody that could get some run in if anything happens to Embiid, injury or such. He is falling apart, so it wouldn't surprise me if something happened. I have absolutely no idea what to get out of Matisse Thybulle, but I would rotate a lot of these guys through lineups, and that's what I am doing on DK in order to get up to some Luka. But I totally understand. I'm just going to still take the Luka route because I think there's going to be somebody that has a good shooting game or has, some defensive stats like a Thybulle or something that can have some utility. And maybe that ends up working out because it's not like the 4K range is some extremely value laden place.
No, the value doesn't exist today.
Yeah.
Like who's the cheapest guy you feel best about? Any position.
Dwayne Deadman.
Yeah.
I mean,
point proven.
I'm just saying, you asked the question and I had the immediate response. Dwayne Deadman's going to be on the floor. I don't know what to make of the Suns situation. Otherwise, I would just say Bismack Biyombo in some kind of a capacity there as the backup center to Ayton, because Ayton's just not a guy who's going to play 40 minutes. He's just not going to be that guy. So we're gonna be able to look at Deadman as being kind of a guy that I prioritize a little bit more, just because I don't know what happens between this McGee and Biyombo type situation where I kind of know what Miami is going to do. Markieff Morris sure ain't going to hit the floor. We've seen what happens when that occurs. It's not good things. Back to the guard spots, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. Which one do you like the most between the Suns backcourt?
So I'm fairly even on them right now, and I'm also underweight to both. I'm prioritizing the Sixers guys pretty heavily right now. So Devin Booker, Chris Paul, these are both guys I have owned right now in the mid 20% range over on DK. So they're both picking up mid 30% projected ownership right now. So hard for me to really get to either of them a ton. Once again, I think the prices are so cheap on Harden and Embiid. Plus this team is facing elimination. I expect both of them to play, maybe not Embiid because he's dealing with all these injuries. He might not be capable of it, but I think Harden plays well north of 40 minutes. And I think Embiid could approach it if he's feeling okay today. So those are going to be my two priorities as far as spend ups go. And that just makes everybody else a little bit less of a priority. Where it's different is over on FanDuel. I find it really easy and hard to avoid Chris Paul at 8,200. So him at 8,200, he's projected for nearly 50% ownership, but I think it's warranted.
Yeah, probably. This is probably the most. I have 28% Chris Paul on FanDuel, and that is by far the most that I've had on any slate. I might get a little bit more here as I tweak things, but this is the earliest I've ever gotten lineups in, maybe in the history of NBA Live Before Lock. So I'm going to enjoy that. I'm just going to enjoy that feeling right now, just until something wonky happens, which, I don't even want to put that out there. We have a bunch of super chats. My God, you guys are just so incredible today. I'm noticing. Let's get to it here before we move through the rest of the guard position. Michael McKinney, the usual $5 or the usual $2 super chat for his 5 FanDuel cash plays. Thanks, dudes, with lots of S's.
All right, so FanDuel cash plays. So this is also where some of the FanDuel is going to be different than DK. Jalen Brunson must play in FanDuel cash. Mm-hmm. Dorian Finney-Smith, I would say also. Your guy, Jay Crowder, 5,100 on FanDuel. I'd throw him in there. I'd add Chris Paul to the mix at 8,200. And then I guess Luka as well.
Yeah, I think you have to play Luka in cash. So those would be the exact 5 I have. DFS, Jay Crowder, they are kind of just bedrocks of what you're doing over there on FanDuel today, I think. Just so many minutes, and now the price tags have come down. I mean, a lot different looking at them at 5,200, 5,100 respectively than 58 and 55 we had on the last slate. So a little bit more easy, or it's easier just to play those guys for sure. Keeping it moving, Nathan H, $2. I feel it's going to be a plus 11 plus blowout for Suns, Mavs. Do you ? I don't know which side. I'm assuming he means for the Suns side because they're, by all intents and purposes, the better team. But do you see that game getting wonky, Greg?
I mean, the spread couldn't be closer. It's 1.5 last I looked. Let me see. I mean, if it's moved at all, it's 2.5 at most. No, I think home court advantage gets massively overlooked by the public in a lot of these games. And Suns favored by 2 points right now. So it's something that I've brought up also on previous shows, but the expectation for so many of these games is whatever happened last game. People want to roster whoever played well last game. They want to roster the next game. Whoever sucked last game, they want to fade the next game. Whichever team won, that's the team that's going to win the series. How many times have the Heat been declared dead this series, and how many times have the 76ers been declared dead? It's happened as many times as each of them won or lost a game. That's just what happens in all these circumstances. The spread in these games are 2 points in each of them. Or 2 points right now. 76ers favored by 2, Suns favored by 2. These should be competitive games.
Yep, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I don't see it being an 11 plus type blowout in either side. At least I'm hoping not, because I definitely need a Dallas game 6 win so I can at least hedge out some money with my buddy's bet. Good times. Go Mavericks. Gabriel Meefrin, good to see you in chat. $2 from Gabe. Do you guys like Dinwiddie or Vincent? LMI on FanDuel. I don't know what the LMI means. But let's see. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Dinwiddie or Vincent for you on FanDuel, my friend? Last man in. Good Lord. That's a beautiful acronym. I should have known.
I mean, it's kind of an obscure acronym. It's not one you see all the time. So
Greg defending me, Jordan throwing me under the bus. Classic Jordan Klein.
Yeah. Cool. We might just not be cool. Maybe in the dude bro chill world of the people who are with it.
Dude bro chill. LMI. Dude bro chill. Whatever.
Jordan, how often do you text LMI to people?
LMI, LMK. Let me know.
Never.
I don't know. Maybe
Absolutely
that's what people
never.
say at orgies, Jordan.
You work at a DFS company. You have to know what LMI is. Come on.
You have to know what LMI
bro, dude, bro, chill.
Dude, bro, chill. Okay, keep it going. Answer the question. I'm done with you, Jordan Klein.
So honestly, for FanDuel, I don't love either of them because it's so easy to just find these guards that are kind of underpriced. So, we've got Chris Paul, Jalen Brunson at 6,200, Maxey at 65. That's a reasonable salary. So in the build I have on FanDuel, I didn't get to much of either of them. I get to a little more of Dinwiddie, but that's more of a product of him being eligible, both point guard and shooting guard. But I don't think either of them are priorities. I know you like Gabe Vincent last slate, but where are you standing with him today?
I'm pretty on Gabe Vincent for this slate today. It's just kind of, he's 4,400 on DK. It's so hard. And on FanDuel, he was 3,800 last slate. He's 4,500 now. I don't think people realize how important price is in terms of trying to hit the optimal on a 2-game slate. It's almost like people have not been price sensitive and they've just played the best the guy who just went nuts the last slate. You put it perfectly that way. So 4,500 on for Gabe Vincent is a lot different than 3,800. I award myself no points, and may God have mercy on my soul. Picasso TV, $9.99, hit for 4K last night. Congratulations, Picasso TV. Beautiful stuff. Thanks for everything. How many minutes would you predict for Joel? The right answer is as many as he humanly possibly can handle. I think for me, that puts him at around 38. If you're going to look at the tippy top range for Joel Embiid.
So in terms of, his ceiling for minutes is north of 40 if he's feeling good today. And, the narrative last game was that, but he looked awful physically last game. If you're watching it, part of it too, I'm sure, was the score of the game where he's like, we're not winning this game. I'm not sacrificing my body for this game anymore at this point. But I think that what happened, the narrative, by the way, was just that, he's sulking because he didn't win MVP. I don't think that's what it was. I think he's got a torn thumb ligament, a concussion, a broken face. And he was like, I don't feel good. And his body let him down that game. So I think a lot of this in terms of his playing time, it's out of his control. His conditioning isn't great either right now. Also, that's been talked about by the team because he wasn't able to do any sort of exercise or cardio while he was dealing with the concussion symptoms. So it's going to be a product of how well is he playing? How well is he doing physically? Is he going to take any shots to the face? Is he going to get elbowed in the head at all? I think the upper bound limits of his playing time is probably 42. Most likely, I think he plays in like the high 30s. I project him for 37 minutes, but I think there's a wide range. I think he's a really good tournament play.
Yes, Joel Embiid's a good tournament play. He ended up so low on last slate. It was like everybody on planet Earth knew that he was like sick or injured beyond all capacity, except for you and me. I thought Joel Embiid was a good play, even though I prioritized the other two centers. Got nothing out of them either, Bam Adebayo and DeAndre Ayton. So ended up not being a good slate for me overall there. But we continue on. We continue on. Let's go Embiid. Let's have one game here tonight, please. Foster Elijah, $1.99 from him. Over under on Chris Paul, Maxey, or Brunson. So over under on Chris Paul. So over or under the field. I'm assuming, I don't know if he's referring to DraftKings or FanDuel. It's pretty easy for me to say under on both, even though on FanDuel he's much more playable. I said I've got more of him than any other slate. Where do you stand on Chris Paul?
Under on Paul. And then for the Maxey or Brunson, I have more of Brunson.
Brunson is very important for this slate. For me, for a lot of people, he's 6,200 on FanDuel. That is just outrageous for a number. And on DraftKings, 6,300. I like him a lot more than I like Maxey and guys of that nature. If Maxey shoots the doors out of it, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble because I'm a little bit under the field, not drastically. He's at 27.8%. I have 20%, but I definitely need Jalen Brunson to giddy up. I like the elimination aspect for him as well at home. Both of these teams, at home, but I just like Brunson, 6,300. I think he's got a lot of utility with the shooting guard eligibility as well. Thank you, Foster Elijah. I think we're caught up. Nope, we got one more super chat that came in. Old Rat 14. He's been firing off a bunch of super chats for us. Appreciate you. $2. Bridges and Bullock, DFS Kleba, or Kleba and Crowder on DK. So it's going to be Bridges Bullock, DFS Kleba, or Kleba Crowder for DK.
That is Bridges and Bullock for me. Of all the players he mentioned there, Bridges and Bullock are my two favorites.
I like DFS and Kleba, but we will get to that. Well, I like Kleba and Crowder as well. I like the other two more, but I think Bridges and Bullock, we'll get to that portion. I think there's a lot of good talking points to be had there. That is for sure. Let's finish out the guard here. I think we got to talk about Brunson and why we're both very, very high on him for today's slate. There isn't a lot of value, but this is a guy that we were paying north of 7K in the early goings, even with Luka back in the rotation at the tail end of that Utah series. He had a really rough going here against Phoenix. They've definitely clamped down on him, but I think he's just a must on this slate. How about you?
I don't know about a must. Like it's hard to say anybody's a must. It depends.
Okay, fair.
Like, well, so
I like
when
hyperbole.
So like when you say must, like what do you, because he's also really popular.
I'm just saying for the most part, there isn't value. And he's like the closest. If you just even sort by the value column that we have on DraftKings or FanDuel, I got to assume he's going to be the guy. Yeah. So here's kind of what I'm getting at. Jalen Brunson projected, if people like their X multipliers, 5.3X. That's the highest on FanDuel. Dorian Finney-Smith coming in second there, 5.1. Jay Crowder, 5. You go to DraftKings, same kind of scenario. Jalen Brunson projecting for 5.4X. Luka actually second in terms of quote unquote value at 5.2X. That amongst the guard position, he's just kind of a must in terms of like, I don't know how you build more than 1 or 2 lineups and not land on Brunson. Like it just feels as though he's the closest thing to quote unquote value we have at the position.
So one thing that's a real pain in the ass about this slate is I'm looking through my projections. All of the players I have as the best values are expensive in terms of points per dollar. It is Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, James Harden, Bam Adebayo, DeAndre Ayton, and then Brunson comes in next. And then here's the flip side. There's no cheap guys. Like, there's no cheap guys that fit into the mix. All of the cheap guys project terribly on a points per dollar basis. So that's what makes lineup construction so hard on this slate, because the guys that I do think are most mispriced are the expensive options, and there's nobody to pair them with for cheap. So I understand what you're saying with Jalen Brunson. I also think he's a really strong play, but I do come in underweight to the field on him just because he's so popular. He's projected for 50% ownership on DraftKings. He's projected for 60% ownership on FanDuel. So, I mean, they're just really lofty numbers. He's one of my most rostered players, but that means that I get to him 40% on DK and like 45% on FanDuel. So
you're really spreading it out today.
I mean, it's not necessarily really spreading it out. It's just, I mean, I have Brunson projected for 31.2 fantasy points. Right? Solid at 6,300. But I don't look at that as being like, oh, this is a guy I need to have in 70% of my lineups.
That's fair, but I have him in 70% of my lineups because I think he's the closest thing I have to value that I trust. And I already know he's going to be popular. I think he should be popular on today's slate. Like, I understand that he's not Tyus Jones of yesterday. That I'm very aware of that. And I had way more Tyus Jones than what I have of Jalen Brunson. But part of it is that you kind of play the slate that's in front of you. And I think more times than not, I'm better off going over getting to Jalen Brunson on today's slate and just kind of taking that as hopefully the piece that can come through for me in 75% of lineups. I'll have a couple outs on the other side, but I want to be pretty aggressive with him, knowing that I think he's just point per dollar the best play on the slate.
Yeah, and I don't have him projected as the best points per dollar play on the slate, so that's also something we probably disagree on a little bit. He's my, of the non-stars, he's my favorite points per dollar play, but it's still, I don't think the ownership is quite warranted. You're playing cash games, absolutely play Jalen Brunson. In tournaments, also play Brunson. I just have a little bit less of them in the field. But I think you could probably answer this question. Which guard do you think I am most overweight to the field to?
Reggie Bullock. Reggie Bullock.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yep. I get it. And we'll get to him here in a second, but we got these other guys. We've got Victor Oladipo, the mandatory Victor Oladipo conversation that we always have every single slate. He's 5,600 now on DraftKings.com. I have 0% of him over there. So if Victor Oladipo goes completely bonkers, you will not see me with anything on DraftKings.com. That's for sure. And on FanDuel, let me find out exactly what I've finished with 5K. I have 26% of him over there. I think much more palatable at 5K. What are you planning to do with him?
Yeah, so I also don't have that much. I haven't outright faded him, but I have also, he's going to be more popular than what his ownership projection is.
Agreed.
He's right now projected for 21% ownership on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's projected for 7% ownership based on just the narrative we've seen around Oladipo and how much, I mean, you and I, we can't talk about Oladipo without people losing their shit in the YouTube chat. People are like, oh, Eric, remember when you said Oladipo plays 0 minutes? Greg, remember when you said Oladipo? Like, people, they've kept receipts on Victor Oladipo. Anything we ever said negative about him, people know, they remember. But I mean, look, what is the realistic upside in him at 5,600 now on DraftKings? I just don't really see it. So the game where he went crazy against the 76ers, came off the bench and scored 31 fantasy points with Deadman out when Bam got in foul trouble and they played small. He scored 31 fantasy points. Mm-hmm. That's okay at 5,600, but we're talking about the absolute ceiling of him.
Yep,
is right there, and yeah, everything has to go right for him to score 30 fantasy points. I don't know. It's hard for me to get there.
I'm with you. Good. Glad we're on the same page there. He was also my favorite tournament play on that game because once again, he played terrible, burned everybody, and he was really low owned, and then he went nuts. That was fun. That was a fun Sunday. It's Thursday, though. Let's keep it rocking. $20 from Jordan Lockhart. My God, this guy, just keep the heater going. Keep being you, dude. $20, no super chat, didn't say anything, or, just a super chat with no words. Just dropping a 20 spot and coming on by. Appreciate you. Levi Fain, last man in on FanDuel, Struce, Tucker, Johnson, or Bullock. Why don't you talk about Reggie Bullock? Because I know that's going to be your answer here.
So Reggie, and by the way, also on the Victor Oladipo part, we did like Victor Oladipo for individual slates.
Oh yeah. It's just that everybody lumps everything together into the one take you had that one day. And then that carries over to every other game in the series when that's not true at all.
So I don't hate Victor Oladipo because that's the other thing too, is I think a lot of people think if there's an individual slate where over underweight to a player means you love or hate them. I just don't think this is a good slate to roster Victor Oladipo. I didn't think last slate was a good slate to roster Victor Oladipo. I didn't think the slate before that. Well, there was one slate. I can't even remember what the circumstance was, but there was one slate we played. It was when everybody was out for the 76ers. When Lowry was out, when Jimmy Butler was out. Like that was where it really made sense. Now he's really expensive at this point. Sorry, what did you say though?
Oh, I don't know. I was going to let you also know the $44 on FanDuel for baseball is going to overlay by a lot the qualifiers. If you want to try to win a Q, there's actual overlay. They're actually paying you to jump in, and there's some positive equity to get into that. So if you want the $44 over there for that slate, it locks in 2 minutes. I think that's why it's going to overlay. People aren't paying attention to that. I just threw a couple in that. Hopefully you can see me with my Edwin Rios at the min at 2K, taking something down there in a couple of those lineups. So good times will be had by all. That's all I had to add to it. That's all. Let's keep going.
Good information.
Teddy Wayman, thanks for the great content. Cheers. Cheers to you, my friend. And you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a special because I appreciate you so much, Teddy Wayman, not to just specifically call you out, but if you're in a legalized betting state, this can apply to everybody who's watching right now. LBL Bets. What is this? This is the promo code that you're going to use when you sign up at BetMGM. And here's what you have to do. You bet $10 on any NBA money line tonight. Go deposit over at BetMGM, $10 or more. And if you bet $10 on an NBA money line tonight, when a three-pointer is made, you're going to get 4 $50 bets, accumulating up to $200 of free play. $200, just completely free. You use promo code LBL Bets, all lowercase, no biggie. Jordan Klein's throwing that into chat there. The exclamation LBL Bets, but you don't have to put the exclamation mark. It's simply the promo that you're going to sign up there. Head to BetMGM and take advantage of this. Greg, I'm pretty sure a three-pointer is going to get made tonight. Do you?
It's going to be... Actually, when do you think the last time there's been an NBA game that didn't have a three-pointer made?
That is a great question. I don't think it's ever happened since the three-point line has been introduced. I'm sure maybe in like the first year or two of it being introduced, but I find it impossible to believe that there's a game in the history of the NBA, once players got adjusted to it in like that first year, that didn't have a three-pointer made.
Let's see. So I did a Google search, and of course, the first thing that comes up on Google, this is the Harden truth, for sure. Either way, it's free money. It's a no-brainer bet. It's absolutely going to happen. But so since
they just had 5 DeMar DeRozans running around on the floor, like that's all I'm imagining in my brain is like the Denver Nuggets in '87 or something.
Since 2013, there's only been 6 games where an individual team did not hit a three. There's been 0 games where both teams didn't hit a three.
There's been 0 games where both teams didn't hit a three. Got it. So guess what? It's automatic. Take promo code LBL Bets, bet $10, win $200. Enjoy that. You're welcome. We continue on, my friends. To the forward spot we go. On the top end, Jimmy Butler. I tell you what, I've been fading this guy, and you know what? It hasn't gone well until it went well. He still found a way in most winning lineups, even at 45.25 because he was cheap enough. But now at 9,800 over on DraftKings, finally getting the price bump over there specifically on FanDuel. It came down from 10.8, I believe it was. Now it's 10.5. How do you feel about Jimmy Butler on today's slate?
Yeah, I'm underweight. It's something you and I have been pretty on board with throughout this series. And once again, he's just really expensive. And, last game points per dollar, he didn't perform well. And he keeps having these crazy, crazy shooting outcomes. So last time, and by the way, it was a blowout, so it cut some minutes off of him. But either way, he shot 9 of 15 from the field last game to score 45 fantasy points at 9,500. If he shoots 50% from the field, I mean, we're looking at a pretty poor game points per dollar there. And that's just the shooting percentage has been so crazy high for him. It's not going to continue because you might say like, hey, Jimmy Butler, this guy is, I don't even know what you call him. We'll just call him a hooper. Right? This guy just shows up for playoff games. He's a hooper, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, he's an Iron Man, if you will.
There's no situation where somebody is so motivated for the playoffs that they become a 70% shooter from the field.
Yeah.
It just doesn't exist.
He's trying harder, Greg. It's the playoffs.
Yeah, well, so
that was Twitter. That was trolling you.
But also I'm just playing off that. Like the other point is he wasn't trying as hard to make his mid-range jumpers in the regular season. Like he was just trying to miss them. He's trying harder to make them now. It's just he is on a really good run of variance where he's making shots. And this is now where he's at the apex of his price. So I'm well underway to the field on him. And the other thing, too, is Joel Embiid is cheaper than him in both FanDuel and DraftKings. I'd rather play Joel Embiid than Jimmy Butler.
Yep. That's the way that I look at it. I think that's the most simplest terms to put it. Give me Joel Embiid over both of them in an elimination game at home in Philadelphia, spot where they rattled off 2 in a row. I think, I want both series to go 7 games. That way we have another 2-game slate to cover rather than any kind of showdown right out of the gate. But I digress. It'd be all right either way. I think you'd get a day off on a Saturday, and I like you, Greg. So there you go.
LMI.
All right. We continue on with the rest of forward, and it gets very interesting for me because you get Tobias Harris. We're just going to put all of these guys together because I think it just is. This is like for me, and it's felt this way for the last couple slates, the real make or break section, who you choose to be overweight to in this range. And we have Tobias Harris, Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, my boy Jay Crowder, my boy Maxi Kleber. I've made both of them things. Yes, I'm going to take credit. Even Max Strus and Reggie Bullock down there at 5K. From 5K to 6,800, you only have Tobias Harris there up at 6,800. So maybe he bears an individual conversation. But who are the mid-range forwards that you are rostering the most today?
A lot of them. I mean, this is where I think we live on DK with guys like DFS, Reggie Bullock, Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges. I mean, I just don't see another way to go with the forward spot. Those are the best plays that are in the mid range because then you start to spend up and it's somebody like Tobias Harris, who, guys like Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, if you have them in a few lineups, it's not the end of the world. But at the same time, too, if I'm going to anticipate that Joel Embiid is back and healthy, it's counterintuitive that I'm going to play a lot of Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey when they have their prices increased, because I'm assuming that Joel Embiid is going to have a normal allotment of usage today. It's not set in stone. I could be on the wrong side. Joel Embiid could show up and his face could be hurting him and he could suck today. Happened last game, and then more shots go to Harris and Maxey. But because of how I'm building my lineups and how I have this situation projected, I'm on Harden and Embiid, so I'm not really on Harris and Maxey. But yeah, the forwards I really get to the most here, it's DFS, it's Reggie Bullock, Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges. Maxi Kleber's in the mix for me, but I just feel like he's priced appropriately at this point.
Yep. Maxi Kleber, they're just all playing such massive, massive minutes, and it's been a minutes thing for you and me. And Jay Crowder, I just felt like if all things being equal, he would end up getting a lot more minutes. And you know what? Those minutes have mainly been coming from Cameron Payne, which is kind of a strange thing to say, but I was trying to figure out where those extra minutes might come from because he's gone 36. Well, obviously they just walloped Dallas at home and he had foul trouble and he only played 27 minutes and burned the world. But Jay Crowder is still a fantastic play in my opinion today. That's my favorite guy alongside Dorian Finney-Smith to get to. I get by far the most of those two. And then I'm all right getting to everybody else there. I know Bullock is the guy you've made your strong case for. But looking at this entire mid-range, I think we just plaster the board with all of them because the minutes are just so secure. And everybody else that's trying to make very veiled, thin value work is not going to be landing on these guys in bulk the way that we are playing multiple lineups.
Yeah, and so then somebody like Davis Bertans is really popular. And I get the case for Davis Bertans. Earlier in the day when he was expected to not be popular, I was like, oh, I think I'll land on Davis Bertans as a punt option. But now he's over 20% owned on DraftKings at 3,100. And I think he's just going way over owned. The odds of success for Bertans, it's a possibility, but it's it's thin. It doesn't happen all that often because he's not going to play a lot of minutes, and you're just kind of relying on him getting hot, which at 3, 4, 5% ownership, that's a reasonable gamble to take. Less so when he's projected for over 20% ownership. So I kind of prefer living in the mid range at this position. And what happened?
Jordan Klein with the subtle troll of a guy who's not even on the show to defend himself. Lofty himself just getting thrown under the bus. That's your work daddy, Jordan. That's your work daddy. You can't do that to work daddy.
This is what number one, this is making me uncomfortable. Number two, I don't know what he said.
It's his work daddy. He just flashed up Lofty himself next to Davis Bertans as if they look alike or something.
Well, because they do.
No, they don't.
They're related. They're cousins.
It's a nasty work daddy move is what that is, Jordan.
Yeah,
Klein.
let's just read some super chats. I don't need that.
I have a couple here for you. No, we don't have any. Do we have any? No, just great content, guys. I read all the super chats. We continue on. Greg Ehrenberg.
No, we didn't read Jordan Lockhart's chat.
$20. He didn't have any. I didn't see anything that he put there.
So we still shout him out.
I did shout him out. You're not listening to me today.
Did he shout him out?
Yes.
He did? Okay. All right. Mea culpa. We have another super chat also.
Shame to you and your family. Now we have one. But actually, no, because it looked like Meatball Night was a success.
Oh, yeah, it was. Meatball Night was a big success yesterday.
That's good. Your brother, Ben, I will never forget that. That was great. Just coming into chat. Hey, Greg, do you want meatballs? Yes, I do.
Well, so my entire family had texted me, but since I'm doing a show and they were calling me, like, I'm not picking up my phone while I'm on a show. So my brother was like, I'll just go and chat and ask him.
You can't stop by your cubicle. You can't just walk in the door. Nobody's ever walked in the door for you.
No, yes, they have.
Oh,
yes,
they have?
I had
when?
I had an electrician who was doing work here at one point, and he just showed him with like his pants hanging down, his ass hanging out. He just come in. So I have back over here. Yeah, where I'm pointing, it's like a walk-in closet that has some stuff being stored in it. And I don't know what he thought was in here, but I'm in the middle of doing a show. He just walks in, just goes right in the back with his ass hanging out, and he's looking for stuff in the back of my room. And it was totally confusing. Didn't say anything, walked out, left the door open.
Oh my God. I just imagine, and I'm a motivational speaker. He just comes in your living room, just kind of the same.
He had like no awareness though. He didn't realize I was on a show. He didn't realize that he was being broadcast. He just showed up, ass hanging out, did not give a care.
It's so great. Also so great. Jordan Lockhart dropping $10 just to say he shouted me out, Greg. See, there you go. Proof is in the pudding, or in this case, the super chat. LOL. Thanks though. Good looking. So good looking out on you, Greg Ehrenberg, keeping me accountable, even if I was already right. Move on with your day. Take the L, carry it with you, put it in your pocket. Take it with you. I like that we're on the same page. I have 1 out of 80 lineups. I'm just going to take him out of this lineup because I don't really need to play Davis Bertans today. Like, what's the point of having him in one lineup? Of course, this would be the winner now. No, it's zeroed out. Okay. Davis Bertans zeroed out. I'm okay if he just lands in one lineup where it's like, all right, if he goes nuts in that, whatever. But I just have no desire to play Davis Bertans where you need him to get hot from 3. He's out there to shoot. He's going to shoot. But we saw in game 4 at home, even there's times he'll go out there and not get shots off. And then you're holding a 0, just like Greg's holding an L.
Yeah. Hey, I was on the, it doesn't happen often that Eric gets the better of me, but he certainly did this time. I was in the wrong. He was in the right. Mea culpa. Eric is the best. I'm the worst. All the above.
Yeah, so text sounds a lot like when Eric's wife came into the room to print some important documents. Very much so. Just walking in, then carrying Duke in the background. It's like chaos, just running a circus here. He got groomed today. He looks beautiful. He's a handsome young boy. Anything else for you from forward? Again, Tobias Harris, I'm getting a little bit more of him than I've gotten on most slates, mainly because that tag started to come down. If you get Joel Embiid limited here at home, he's 6,800 now. That's a little bit more intriguing for DraftKings purposes than what he's been in the past. On FanDuel, I think he's always had some kind of utility just because he plays a lot of minutes. He's 7K. You know, obviously you can play a lot of those 5K mid-range guys, but pricing a little less tight over on FanDuel. What are you planning to do with Harris on today's slate?
I'm underweight to him. By the way, did we find out if Thibault is playing or not?
No, but I hope so because I have an egregious amount of him on FanDuel.com.
All right. So Thibault is questionable to play. The game locks in 14 minutes. We do not know if he's active or not.
Well, that's great.
So that is something to take note of. I'm assuming he's playing, but that aside, if you're looking to take a punt on somebody, Landry Shamet is 0.2% projected owned on FanDuel, and what is he, like 3% on DK, 5% on DK. So last game, we talked about at the top about some of the changes in the Suns rotation. And based on the comments that we saw from Monty Williams, it seems like it's going to stay because he was asked by a reporter. Here it is. He was asked about his decision to bench backup center JaVale McGee and to bench Cameron Payne in favor of Landry Shamet and Bismack Biyombo. His response was, well, it's just a decision. You don't know how it's going to work out. But when we looked at some of the matchups and the energy that Biz brings to the game, it was a hard decision. I tried to play all three centers, but we felt like Biz's energy would allow for us to make energy plays. We just went with Biz tonight because we knew he was going to bring that kind of energy. He said energy a lot in a very short amount of time. but based on the comments we saw, and by the way, he said something similar about, he said almost the exact same thing about Shamet.
Color of your energy. Whoa.
All right. So yeah, he said almost the exact same things about Shamet as compared to Payne in terms of like kind of empty coach speak that doesn't really mean that much. He said that he likes how Landry Shamet spaces the floor alongside Devin Booker. I don't think JaVale McGee, nor do I think that Cameron Payne are going to play very much today. And I think that Shamet's probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 minutes. And I do not think he's a high upside play, but I think all of the other value plays suck today. And if he's going to play 20 minutes, maybe it's a couple of threes. And I view him as a pretty good pivot off of somebody like Davis Bertans. There is zero difference to me projection-wise between Shamet and Bertans, but Bertans is projected for 4x the ownership.
Exactly. I'm with you. By the way, if my buddy Thomas Hansen is watching, I know he texts me. People text me a lot during these shows just because they're like, oh, well, help me with your lineups ahead of time. But my boy Thomas generally gets some priority stuff. We have too many super chats, too many things going on. Yes, I like Shamet today. I'm on board with Greg Ehrenberg. So yes, we're definitely going to roster a little bit. I'm not getting carried away. I think I have no idea what to expect from it. But as you said, I think it's something we can expect going forward. William Fields, $5. Fellas, thoughts on a 4-person show one days? You 2 plus Baker and Laffy. Also thoughts on Ayton. Big game to close out Dallas. Big game along with CP3. Look, I love doing big roundtables. We do it a lot for NFL. I do a show with Matt Kajewski and Laffy during Wednesdays. We cover ownership, the first run of ownership for NFL. You know, it's one of those things where it's really fun to do 3-person panel shows, but sometimes in like a live before lock format like this, it's easier to have like 2 people back and forth where we can run ideas off each other. We can interact with chat. You have the host, you have the analyst, you kind of fire it back and forth. But thoughts on a 4-person show? That's like next level, Greg.
Yeah, I'm trying to find news on Thibault right now.
That's exactly what I was looking for. That's perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. So
Raw Angelo, $1.99 cash game priorities for DK. I will answer for both Greg and myself as he does the important work. He, I don't want to do your dirty work. No, Mo. It's a good song. Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic. Those are your first 2 in for cash, I think, on DraftKings. And then it gets really, really interesting. I would say those 2 are cash game priorities. You're just playing Brunson automatically. And then it comes down to who are some of the more owned guys. James Harden's at 40%, 8,700. I'm okay getting to a little bit of that if you want to in a cash game type format. But Dorian Finney-Smith, I would say, would be my 3rd cash game priority, even at 5,500. Better play on FanDuel, but like the minutes are just so secure as long as he keeps his hand to himself. Greg, would you have the same 3 guys, the Dallas guys, for your cash game priorities for DK?
Let me check because I was just looking so I messaged News God to see if there was any updates. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, I was searching on Twitter and I just haven't found anything about Thibault.
It's amazing when it's not like the guy, even though Thibault, he played 11 minutes last game, but he had been playing 15 to 20 throughout the series. And it was a complete blowout where no meaningful starter played any minutes whatsoever, or not starter, just even like rotational player towards those last 6 minutes of the game. So that could be a reason he lost those. We have Andre Newsom, start Herro or Maxey. That's a $5 super chat. 4 words and a punctuation mark for $5. We appreciate you. That's like point per dollar or dollar per word. The best super chat we've ever gotten outside of $20 from Jordan Lockhart, just cause, but start Herro or Maxey, Greg.
Let's see. Who do I have projected for? So this is as an LMI, I assume.
LMI, baby.
All right. So LMI. I don't even. It also doesn't really matter if it's the last man in or not. But we have to work that into our vocabulary a little bit more now because we got to be cool like Jordan Klein.
We do an egregious amount of using it, if you will.
Yeah. It was Maxi or Herro.
Maxi or Herro. Maxi pad or yeah. You know what I mean? Sorry. Those menstruation jokes.
Yeah. Periods. Okay. Yeah. So it's Maxi for me.
Oh man. Full stop. Bismack or Deadman DK tournament. Thanks. That's $1.99 super chat from RaceFan22. Bismack or Deadman? Who are you prioritizing at the Stone Cold 3K at center?
Well, I have Biyombo projected for slightly more fantasy points, but it's a little easier to get to Deadman because he's cheaper. So I think it's kind of a wash. If salary is not an issue, I prefer Biyombo.
Man, that's the last thing that came out of the show. Sorry. All right, Ghetto Farmer boy. I hear you, except for Odd Shopper. We're going to talk Odd Shopper here quick before we head to the center position, because Odd Shopper is the best place to find your best bets in 30 seconds or less. All you have to do, go to oddshopper.com, sort by best projected ROI, and you will have some positive EV bets curated by the guys, Alex Baker, Sean Zahn. We've got Eddie Lai behind the projections. We've got Steve Buzzard. These guys are top in the industry. They will give you all the information you need. They also have at Awesemo Best Bets. Go check that out here, giving you a free bet here every single time around. I'll find that because we'll talk about that after the show. Greg and I aren't going anywhere for half an hour per usual, but head to Odd Shopper here right now. Sort by best projected ROI. You can do it by your state. If you're in a state that only has a specific number of books available to you, you can sort it specifically by a team if you're looking for that. You can sort it by game. You can click on the matchups tab on the left. It's so easy for NBA, but not just NBA now. We have MLB bets in full swing, NHL bets, golf bets, so many different things to help you make money. And if you're in a state without legalized sports betting like yours truly here, you simply go to Prize Picks. You simply use the parlay builder that we have at your disposal on the Odd Shopper site, and you build out those parlays to win money. It's as easy as that. So head to oddshopper.com. Greg, is there a bet that you have targeting today that's something that aligns with Odd Shopper for today's slate?
Let me pull up Odd Shopper because I haven't looked at the most recent lines. I assume that they've moved while we've been doing the show because they do tend to change a lot as we get closer. I think Joel Embiid over 0.5 3-pointers makes sense. That's a very low number for him, 0.5 threes. We haven't projected for over 1 3-pointer made. I haven't projected for over 1 3-pointer made. It's a really low bar, obviously. So that's one that makes the most sense.
Yeah, 74% expected win percentage. That would be an auto play for me on a site like Prize Picks. That would automatically go onto the card if it's at 0.5. Fire that up. Take advantage of it. I will also put our guy, Victor Oladipo, the over of 2.5 assists. Once again, just because I absolutely despise him at 5,600 on DraftKings does not mean that he will not be on the floor, and doesn't mean that he doesn't have opportunities to create with the ball in his hands. 2.5 assists is pretty low when you're getting plus 138 on that. That's a 37% expected ROI. Take that one to your sports bets, specifically the book that's listed right next to his name, tells you the best book for the line, no matter what it is. So Victor Oladipo over 2.5 assists. Additionally, Joel Embiid, I love that over of 0.5 at minus 122. Go put those together in a nice little single game parlay. Enjoy that. That is oddshopper.com. Use it, use it, use it. I'm telling you, the best in the industry at giving you free bets that will win in the long term. We're going to start posting all of the expected ROI stuff. I've been seeing that more and more on the page, plus in the Awesemo, the premium betting channel that we have. Good times. You're going to want to join that as well. I'll talk about that after we get to lock, but 5 minutes, get those lineups in, everybody. As we round out talking about center, you talked about prioritizing Embiid, getting over that 34.6% on DraftKings. On FanDuel, power forward eligibility helps him out quite a bit. That's where you're seeing him at 52%. Why do you love Joel Embiid today, Greg?
Yeah, so I love Joel Embiid today because I think the field is going to hate him. The big reason why is, remember last slate, you and I were trying to guess ownerships coming into after lock. And I've been operating under the assumption that the field massively reacts to whatever happened last game. And so far, that's held fairly true, right? We got Melton last night at no ownership. Nobody played him. And I think that's going to happen with Joel Embiid today. I know he's projected to be pretty popular, but do people really want to roster Joel Embiid? Because the narrative that I'm seeing in the chat seems most people don't want to roster him. And he still has pretty gaudy props over at sportsbooks. They're expecting to play well. So, I mean, he clearly has question marks, but we're talking on a 2-game slate. We're trying to differentiate. And I think the way we do it is to pay up for Embiid, who might end up being like 20% owned on DraftKings.
Solid Pick says Embiid has a broken face and he has a concussion, one elbow, and it's over. Why are you jamming him LMAO with a skull emoji? Because pricing's a thing. And traditionally, Joel Embiid is an 11K basketball player that we're getting for sub 10K on FanDuel. It just makes a lot of sense to be playing lots of him in the hopes that he completely goes nuts, because it's a 2-game slate. And it's hard to get a guy who's sub 25%, which is probably what he's going to end up being. He was at 9,700 on DraftKings with upside of 60.
Yeah, I mean, why did we play a bunch of D'Anthony Melton last night, even though he sucked the game before?
Yeah,
it's ownership. It's a 2-game slate. 2-game NBA slates are different than full-size slates. Also, something else that makes sense when it comes to Joel Embiid, some of his alternate lines, like you could bet him to make 2+3s at +460 today. You could bet him at +200, score 30+ points. I think these are good numbers. The ceiling is there. That's something I had some success with yesterday, was Jaren Jackson Jr.'s alternate point props. He didn't hit like the upper bound ones of the ladder, but he hit plus money on like over 19.5 points, over 18.5 points, over 20.5 points. And I think that the Joel Embiid one, it just, when you get some of these guys that have a really wide range of outcomes, it makes sense to take advantage of some of their alternate lines at sportsbooks.
Jeff Williams, $1.99. Want to get this one in now. Tucker or Cam, LMI. Last man in. DK High, $1 single entry. Tucker or Cam Johnson for you?
Tucker.
Yep. Tucker, it's gross, but still at 4,700. I like him more than I like Cam Johnson because of that inflated tag. Thank you, Jeff Williams, for the super chat. Let's talk quickly. Bam Adebayo or DeAndre Ayton, pick one.
Bam Adebayo or DeAndre, and that is Bam Adebayo for me.
Bismack Biyombo or Dwayne Deadman, pick one.
Bismack Biyombo or Dwayne Deadman. So just straight up, and pricing doesn't matter?
Because I'm saying that because those
Biyombo.
two are so tied together.
Yeah, Biyombo.
Okay, Biyombo for you. I'm probably going to be going more towards the Deadman route, 3K. Biyombo 3,200. If that $200 matters, which every dollar can kind of matter on this slate, even though we've seen optimals with 900 left on the table, 700 left on the table, it's still a thing where I want to get to some smatterings of the flat min 3K guy to be able to jam in every stud. So that $200 matters for me a little bit. But Ayton and Bam Adebayo round out this show as we go into lock. How much are you getting to them on this slate?
Let's see. So Ayton, I have, because my lineups are lock mode. Ayton, I have 34% of, Adebayo 37%.
All right, beautiful. I'm a little bit lower on both of them than what I was the previous slate, because Embiid going back into Philly now that Embiid's also 9,700. I just wanted to jam and play a lot more Embiid than I played last slate on DK, but still getting to 24% Bam, 34% DeAndre Ayton. Oh, am I only 38%? No, 48% Joel Embiid. Okay, good. I just had to upload. That was a previous crunch. Cool. That's good to know. All right.
By the way, we have because we have like a minute before the game locks.
Mm-hmm.
Can I give out a really long odds bet?
Sure, I'm here for it.
Joel Embiid, 30+ points, parlayed with Joel Embiid 2+3s. Same game parlays 20-1.
That's 20-1.
Yes.
Why is that 20-1?
Because he's really long odds at multiple 3-pointers.
That is gorgeous. I would fire that up in bulk.
All right. That is all.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I hate California. I hate you so much. I love it. I'm not leaving, but I love
By the way, what did you end up doing with Thibault?
I ended up playing like 7% on FanDuel. I took him out of I had him in 27% because he was 3,600 and I thought he had some utility. I ended up going 7%.
I have no clue if he's playing still. There's no way we would know. He's listed as questionable. We've gotten 0 updates.
All right, here we go, Greg. We're ready to guess that ownership. Woo!
Woo! Yeah, people go crazy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Open your mouth like that again.
Good. Now give the people something to Photoshop.
Smash the like button. Yeah, I was going to say, just eating a nice, toasty, hot sandwich. That's what it is. Have you seen How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah, that show stinks.
Oh, my God. I hate everyone. Smash the like button, y'all. On your way out. If you guys are leaving, hit it now. Hit it now. But you don't want to leave because we're going to be talking Odd Shopper. We're going to play Guess That Ownership right now. Do not look at the chat. I swear to God, no cheating in this game. What?
That is off. The only thing I like to look at is the ownership projections because I can't do this by myself. I guess that could be considered cheating, but I do it in transparency.
You've been doing the same thing every single time and it's still been a fun bit. So I've enjoyed it very, very much. Don't you worry. Also, it's taking a second to populate. It's the same thing that it had last time where for some reason I click on it and it just won't come up. Maybe it comes to, and we're getting paid to watch you guys. Good luck. Thanks, Charles Oliver. We appreciate you. Now, one guy is going to come. Eric goes for his Thibault views. What? The finale sucked. Yeah, I'm aware that that's a popular sentiment, but you know what? Us truthers don't care. We still enjoy it.
But here's the issue too. If you watch those shows without a laugh track, you won't know when the jokes are supposed to be.
But that's part of what the laugh track is doing. Plus, Barney Stinson.
No. If somebody tells a joke, you should just know when the jokes are. Somebody shouldn't have to inform you a joke was just told.
This is a bad take, Greg.
No, it's not a bad take.
Did you like Seinfeld?
Yeah, but Seinfeld's also funny.
Seinfeld is a laugh track.
But here's the difference. I'm saying that I could watch Seinfeld without a laugh track and still find it funny and know when the jokes are supposed to be. If I watch those shows like Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, 2.5 Men, and there's no laugh track, I don't know. I don't know when the jokes are. There's no way to know. It's impossible.
All right. DK is not populating, my friend. Mike Moustakis actually had an RBI. That's hilarious to me. So we have to start on FanDuel.com today. We're going to start on FanDuel and then we'll jump over to the $20 once everything populates for me. Because again, when I click on the view live scoring on the app, nothing is coming up. It says, sorry, not sure what happened. Refresh the page and try again. And then I just refresh it over and over and over and over and over and over like Marshawn Lynch, and it doesn't work. So we're heading to FanDuel. I want you to guess Joel Embiid.
All right. So Joel Embiid's going to be more popular on FanDuel and DraftKings just because he's multi-position eligibility. He's still going to be popular, but not at that. It's like 35%.
37%. Coming out of the gate strong, Greg Ehrenberg. Coming out of the gate very hot.
So by the way, so that means on DraftKings, let's do some quick math here. Mm-hmm. So Joel Embiid ended up being 35% on FanDuel, which means on DraftKings, I assume he's going to be right around 20%.
Jimmy Butler on FanDuel.
Oh, he's going to be so popular because he's been popular this entire series. So Jimmy Butler is going to be like 40% owned.
He is 46.4% owned. I have 12%.
I only played on DraftKings today. I did not play on FanDuel.
Oh, I played so much on both sides. Shit. That is scary. Again, we had him projected 25. We both knew he was going to be more popular than that. I kind of projected him for like mid-30s. I thought he'd be like mid-30s% owned. 45.6% is outrageous at 10-5. I agree.
But out of him. Once again, this is how lineups are generally getting built, is just what happened based on the last couple of games. And there is reason to think that Jimmy Butler's baseline should be higher than what it was in the regular season because he's playing more minutes.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And also Kyle Lowry's out right now.
Yeah, that's true. I get it.
It's just too much ownership.
All right, we got DK back. So we did the two studs on FanDuel. I think that's enough because everything else makes sense. Gabe Vincent, 23% over there. James Harden, 35.6. Tyler Herro, 23.5. 5,700 Tyler Herro's only 23.5%. That's kind of surprising for FanDuel purposes. Regression, please come up. Max Strus is 37.4% on FanDuel.
I'm not guessing anymore. You're just giving me the answers.
Oh, those are FanDuel. We're going back to DK because I just got everything came up on DK. It's done doing the weird stuttery thing.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
For FanDuel now or DraftKings?
DraftKings. We're only DraftKings because again, that's what the people really want to see you do is guess the DraftKings $20 I'm going to start with
I
James
already
Harden.
guessed Embiid. I already guessed Embiid, so we could tell it.
Embiid, what did you guess?
I said he was going to be around 20%.
22.8%. Well done by you. You get a cookie. Jimmy Butler.
All right. So I get here. I kind of have a rough idea of what the answer is going to be because I could compare our ownership projections to what the answer was on FanDuel. And I know that, all right, what was his number on FanDuel?
He was 45.6%.
Okay. So then on DraftKings, he's going to be like 36.
31.3%. So lower on DK at 9,800. I think that just speaks to how tight the pricing is on DraftKings. If I had to really pinpoint anything, I have a feeling people like me and most people are going to prioritize a lot of Luka Doncic still, for better or for worse. Jimmy Butler will be going ham. Also, Eric's cheating. Yeah, Eric is. I'm absolutely cheating. I'm giving I'm asking the questions.
And I'm cheating too, because I'm looking at our ownership projections. Like I don't make up the numbers out of nowhere. The way that I'm doing it is I'm looking at our ownership projections, which are just based on an algorithm, mathematical. And then I'm weighting it based on whatever people did the game before. And that's pretty much how I'm guessing these.
Yeah. You ain't no Joey Corman. Come on. No, now. Joey effing Corman.
I'm no Joey Corman either.
King. Showdown King. Can't cheat that, but you can cheat at basketball Wikipedia games. Bam Adebayo.
Let's see. Adebayo. So Adebayo's burned a lot of people so far.
Sure has.
But he was not projected for that much ownership.
Sure wasn't.
So probably same 25%. That's where our ownership projection was.
17.5%. I would want.
All right, so I'm like double the field. I'm double the field on Bam.
I'm somehow over on Bam at 20. What did I say? 27% is what I had of him. So that's cool. Let's go to Dwayne Deadman. I think this is an interesting one.
Well, you know what would make this easier is if I knew the ownership on Luka Doncic.
Yeah, but alas, you don't.
So if Bam Adebayo is that unpopular, people probably just play Deadman to like 30% or something.
13.8%.
Oh, all right. I was very off on that.
Mm-hmm.
So Luka's going to be lower owned than I think then.
Here's one that I find very fascinating. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say for better or for worse or whatever. You can just take it for what it is. Tobias Harris.
I mean, I'm just going to give whatever ownership was because I have no idea. 30%.
24.5%. I would want to be way over that at 6,800. I'm already over it. I said I liked him as kind of a standalone play on DraftKings, but I mean, he had an optimal appearance rate in the boom bust tool of, where is he? 32.9%. Oh yeah, that is some nice leverage to be getting on Tobias Harris. Even if he plays like absolute dog shit. Oh my God, hold up. Danny Green.
Danny Green's been really popular in the series, but I don't know. He was projected for 24%. I'm not going to deviate from ownership projection. 24%.
37.7%.
Oh, wow. I did not see that coming. So that's what people did. So that's what's going to help Luka get more popular is Danny Green.
What? Matisse Thybulle, 1.9% at 3K on DK. That'll be fascinating if he doesn't play or not yet. I mean, it's good leverage if he does play. If he doesn't, you're probably getting a 0 anyway. So cool. Gabe Vincent.
Vincent was pretty mediocre last game. A lot of it came in garbage time. If Danny Green's that popular, though, I don't know, 25%.
32.2%. I think what we're really figuring out is these guys who are going to play more minutes that are like these mid-range players are getting played a lot. Gabe Vincent played a lot. Danny Green played a lot. Like that's the path to playing Luka. I think for most people was playing multiple of those guys rather than just going down to like George Niang, 5.8%, 3,300. That seems pretty high. PJ Tucker at 4,700 is 22.8%. You're looking at some crazy different stuff there. I'm trying to see if there's any other interesting one that I can ask you to round it all out. Maxi 29.7. That's not all that interesting to me. Paul Reed, here you go. Final one.
By the way, somebody is saying that Butler is actually 31% owned in the $20. Where he was higher owned, Zeus was over on FanDuel.
Yeah.
FanDuel was where he had all that ownership.
Yeah, we started FanDuel. We talked Embiid and Butler as we were waiting for DK to populate. So, yeah, he was lower owned over on DK and the $20. But last one here, Paul Reed, $3,600.
I mean, there's no way people played Paul Reed, right? Like he can't be more than 10%.
13.4%.
All right, yeah, whatever. That is what it is. That's not a big deal.
Okay, all right. It seemed more than I was expecting for Paul Reed.
I mean, we had him projected for 14% ownership.
Yeah. He's at least a good fantasy point per minute guy and guaranteed to see the floor, barring Glenn Rivers' debauchery. So there's that. That just covered the ownership game again. I've enjoyed it. If this is the last day that we get to play that game with these two teams, it was a good day. Pretty darn well by you. Really well done by our ownership projections. Obviously, the Jimmy Butler thing is like impossible to quantify. The Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid, I think that's been routinely kind of one's gone more of one direction because the field's just jamming Jimmy Butler, and we've gone more of the Joel Embiid, please play better route. So that'd be cool. I'd like that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there is a good. Colin Richardson did say that Paul Reed is one elbow away from smashing. Yeah, it's true. Embiid could get hurt at any point in time, and then there comes Paul Reed. We didn't say Harden. Harden's in a lot of my lineups.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me, what do you think?
So let's see. Harden was projected for 40% ownership on DraftKings and on FanDuel. He was projected for 41%, but that number has to be lower considering the Jimmy Butler ownership. So I don't know, 25% for Harden?
30.1%.
Okay.
I still think you're probably happy to have those shares.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel great about the Embiid one. I probably won't feel great about it later, but he is crazy under-owned relative to his upside.
I have to agree with you. Bam, 25.2% over on FanDuel. Somebody had asked that there too. Cool. 0% Paul Reed for some people. Yeah, I get that. But here we go. Can't wait for Powell to get a DNP. He's going to start. So that's probably not going to happen. If he doesn't start, yeah, he could. So
if he doesn't start, he's absolutely not playing, but he's probably going to start.
Yeah, he's probably going to start. So he's been playing that rotation. I'm trying to remember who it was that said that when he was 45% on that first slate, who should play 0%. Oh, that was me. I definitely said that. I was happy about that call. And now Dwight Powell is a distant memory to everybody in the entire world because hopefully you've been playing 0% with Greg and myself here for, I don't know, all 6 of these games. That would be great. I wish he didn't start, then he could just jam Kleba even more than what I've already done. But I take it over to Odd Shopper. Let's do the thing, my friend. We have the Heat Sixers. It's still not started yet. Must be an ESPN night, if I had to guess.
You are correct, sir. We've got 2 games today, both on ESPN. Was scheduled for a 7 p.m. start time. Alas, it is 7:14. The game is not started. TNT, those guys get on it when it comes to the start. They've been like right there, like 7:04, 7:05 Eastern time. ESPN, they're like, no. We're going to keep you here watching commercials for a while.
All right. Well, let's talk Dallas and Phoenix as we're waiting for it here. I talked about the Chris Paul steals over 1.5 plus 158 projected for 1.9 here. That's not a terrible bet to be taking advantage of. 53% expected ROI does not show up every day in the Odd Shopper tools. I can tell you that much. I love that play. Is there something else that sticks out to you? Obviously, I love, Matisse Thybulle available to play Thursday. 7% of lineups. Oh, cool.
There we go. One sweat down. That was an actual sweat today, whether Thybulle would play or not. Yeah. So you and I are both overweight. I don't have a lot of Thybulle, but 10% of Thybulle is 10x the field.
Yeah. What is 7%? Why? That's such a weird number. How did I land on 7% when I have 50 line? That doesn't make sense. Everything has to be an even number. I'm just thinking aloud to myself. I must have something. Oh, that's right. Because I played that okay. Just talking to myself. Don't listen to the narrator. He's an idiot. 51 lineups. That's why I landed on that.
Yeah. You have them in, if I'm not mistaken, you have them in 4 of 51 lineups, correct?
There we go. Correct.
Look at that. How did I figure it?
I was just so confused how I had 7 because I was like, I put 50 lineups in the 9 and I was like trying to do the math in my head. I was like, because I got the free play thing that you play. And so it exists and it goes into, so I have 51 lineups. That's cool. Cool. We broke that down. That was enjoyable.
I like how I can't believe I was able to read your mind and figure out how many lineups you had with them.
Well, I mean, I was just stunned when I looked at it because I was like, math. The reason I do 50 when I'm on these shows is everything's by 2. So I can just read it off by 2. And the reason I do 80 on DK is because, everything's 20 max and I want to make 80 and I can kind of prioritize and sort and put my best lineups in the $4 because that's when whatever, who cares? Let's jump over to Odd Shopper, my friend. What sticks out to you in the Phoenix and Dallas game that we can bet on using Odd Shopper?
So this might not surprise you, but Reggie Bullock
over
4.5 rebounds at plus 140. We have projected with a 28% ROI. The reason why 4.5 rebounds, I don't disagree with this 50-50 bet, but you're getting plus 140 on the over. I think those are pretty good odds. I have Reggie Bullock right around, let's see, how many boards do I have? Yeah, I have Bullock at 5 rebounds over at Awesemo. I'm projected for 4.9. We're getting pretty significant plus money on that over 4.5. So plus 140, that's something I can get behind.
This game hasn't started yet. It's 4:17. It's 7:17 in real time. Now it's going. There we go. Cash your tickets. 17-minute mark. That's the latest we've had in these playoffs by far.
It's the late one.
Shout out LBL Bets one more time for the people over at BetMGM. Take advantage of that promo code LBL Bets. $10. You just put $10. Maybe you didn't take advantage of it here for this Philadelphia game, this Miami game. I don't know why you wouldn't because it's free money, but take advantage of it. If anybody hits a 3 in that Suns game, I guarantee it's going to happen. Suns Mavericks, 100% certainty. You'll get $200. That is 4 $50 bets completely free to you just by depositing $10, signing up, playing over at BetMGM. Take advantage of that offer. Can't tell you how great that is. That is how you're going to build a bankroll, is taking advantage of these massive offers, being smart with your money, jumping over onto the sports books, taking advantage of these promotions that they're running to get you into the door, and being smart about it, using the tools we have here at Awesemo to help you make money. Use that. Love it. Enjoy it. LBL Bets. That is the promo code you're going to use over at BetMGM right now. All right. We got a game going. 5-0 right out of the gate. PJ Tucker with an assist. Jimmy Butler has a bucket. That's unfortunate. I want to hear Philadelphia boo them. If they lose by 20, that'd be hilarious. But 7-0, Gabe Vincent right out of the gate. 7-0, Glenn Rivers off to a great start here.
Yep, I'm putting the game on right here, trying to pull it up. ESPN, always been a little wonky. Here we go. It's loading. Got the spinning
Danny
circle.
Green for 3 because, of course.
All right, here we go. So I'm behind you. On my screen, it's at 10:35, 10:34, 10:33, 10:32. So you're like a minute ahead of me.
Sounds about right.
Damn. We've got by the way, it was Danny Green from Tyrese Maxey. I was talking earlier on a meeting with Lofty. We have a way in the future where we might be able to watch together and have it synced up at the same time.
Oh my God.
Could be coming down the pipeline.
That'd be incredible. That'd be a lot of fun. Be especially fun as we get into the playoffs here. As we get further into it, the conference championships, the NBA finals. Oh, that would be great times.
Yeah. So let's see.
Danny
Joel
Green.
Embiid does have 2 turnovers already. Not what I would have hoped for.
James Harden bucket on the board. Quick 7-0 run back. Tobias Harris from James Harden. Danny Green with a steal. Why? Why is this? Why is this happening?
So this is rough. I'm going to have to look at the play-by-play on ESPN because my streaming monitor here is just so far behind you that the only way I can keep up is. Are you watching the game or just looking at the box score?
I'm watching the game.
God, this is not fair.
I'm sorry. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Jordan Alvarez, number 2 of the day. What an absolute god. Too bad we couldn't play him. Whatever. Danny Green.
Did you play the baseball slates?
Of course I did.
I
literally talked about overlay on FanDuel because that one game that I had a feeling we could get some overlay on FanDuel. I didn't go as hard as I probably wanted to, but that's the price you pay of being on these shows, Gregory.
Yes, that is what happens. And then I just realized also, I don't have to do it right now. I was going to say I have to update my lineups. We got time.
S. McGee. I want to know what you guys think of McGee. I think that's a great question. I think you shouldn't play him in DFS. And if there's lines available to short him, do it.
So the issue I have with shorting his lines is I don't, let me pull up to see player props. I doubt there are any listed.
None listed now. No.
Yeah. So here's the problem. If he plays 0 minutes, then it's a push. And if he gets on the court, he's liable to hit the over. So I think you're taking on a lot of risk, because the reason we'd be looking at the unders is because we don't think that he's going to, play significant minutes. But I mean, I don't think he's going to be in the rotation today.
Yeah. He's not listed on Prize Picks either. So shout out to that. I don't.
Oh, Danny Green is hurt.
Is he really?
Oh, wait. I thought you were watching and you're ahead of me.
I took it off. I literally took the game off. I have a laptop. I have a TV here. I have an iPad. Okay. Normally I would put it on the iPad.
You got a lot of shit.
But for
Danny Green's hurt either way, though.
When I'm talking to you, I have the Zoom thing. And so then to make sure that I can still talk with you from time to time, I just minimize the windows so that I'm not watching the game live. So there's that. And so I had the window minimized, and then I pulled it back up to watch here. That would be awesome. Harden got a steal too while it was going on, by the way. That's cool.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty gross looking injury.
Oh, well, then I feel bad.
Yeah, he got undercut by Joel Embiid, missed a layup, and then
shit. Okay, yeah, no, there it is. We don't want to see that again.
So there we go, Danny. By the way, I mean, it's neither. Let me see. Did that look for sure? Like, I couldn't tell if it was an awkward bend or if his leg was broken.
I think it's the second one. Jordan Klein, it's the second one, right? Is that what I just saw? Yeah.
I mean, that's a big dude to roll up on you, Joel Embiid. How much do you think Joel Embiid weighs right now?
More than you or me combined. No, that's probably not true. I bet he's like 280, 275.
Well, because whatever he's listed at, I assume he's probably a few pounds heavier because he hasn't been able to.
Joel Embiid weight. 280 is what he's listed at.
Yeah, so we'll call it 285. 280, that's a lot of weight to be putting on a leg.
I feel bad. Again, this is one of those things like DFS, we play it. It's enjoyable. Like, there's a lot of us that do this very seriously. There's a lot of people who do this recreationally. We try to curate to all the different types of players here at Awesemo. We enjoy being in chat. I'm joking around because, like, I don't want Danny Green to play well, but this stuff sucks. Like the Gordon Hayward thing, this thing, all of it is just bad. I don't enjoy it. It's not fun. It's not something you go on Twitter and post about. It's not a thing you want to talk about. Oh, I'm lucky I have 0% Danny Green on DK because I think that's what I have. But, like, it's just, this is horrific. This is just bad. And I don't feel good about it.
By the way, for people saying that was not, Joel Embiid absolutely rolled into his leg.
Rolled it.
Yeah. You had a gigantic human being roll into his leg. This was not Danny Green's leg collapsing under his own weight. It was Joel Embiid rolled into him.
So Matisse Thybulle is going to smash our 7%.
So I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the game to come back out of. This has been a crazy long commercial break that they've been in. Oh yeah. So I'm curious to see who checks in now. When we come out of commercial.
Thybulle's the guy who makes the most sense. It's him or Niang. I mean, but you don't want to have Niang out on the floor guarding Max Strus or anybody in a pick and roll situation. He can't guard me. Shout out Iowa State, George Niang.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for this. I mean, they've been in commercial for really. Oh, here they go. They're showing the replay again. Oh yeah, that's no good. Oh my God.
Why did they show the replay? I'm not even looking.
Yeah, it's no good. He got hurt again on the replay also.
Cool. Yeah, so he got hurt twice. That's awful. S. McG, $4.99. Yeah, Jordan Klein, because it happened twice, but it happened once technically. I know. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. They had to carry him to the locker room. By the way, Thybulle first man in.
Yeah, so it really mattered that we played him. I had 27% until I had 7% on FanDuel, but I'll still take my couple shares of him. By 4 of 50, 4 of 51 as you acutely threw out 7.8%. S. McG 499. Thanks for the advice. I've been playing some high risk players and I've learned a lot in the last couple of weeks of watching. That's amazing. That feels nice because every single slate is different. Greg and I, we've been playing a lot of DFS in our lifetime. And it's one of those things where what's so enjoyable about it is like the same reason people do crossword puzzles or Sudokus or things like that. There's just obviously a lot more nuances to it, but it's putting a new puzzle together every single day. It's a lot of fun. We're glad that you're hanging out with us, enjoying the ride.
And I mean, just because it's from a DFS angle here, who do we think benefits the most with Danny Green now from a playing time perspective?
Maxi's going to play a lot. He was already going to play a lot. I think you got to say Thibault and Niang are kind of your 1-2, and Shake Milton would make some sense because they need some kind of offense out there, but he's not really a guy that is like a standout shooter on the perimeter. I think for this season, let me pull up some of his numbers. At home for the season from 3, 25.4% from 3. That ain't going to be it. So I think it probably makes more sense if you're trying to spread out the floor for Embiid and Harden. You're going to see more Niang and then Thibault out there for defensive purposes.
I mean, just the fact that Thibault checked in first, and by the way, immediately got a steal. There's going to be a weird Sixers player that breaks the slate now.
If it's Thibault, at least we're there. I mean, he's super, super low owned.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be Joel Embiid based on the start. But Embiid is low. He
is laboring.
I mean, he's been laboring all series.
I know. Hey, from 3, he missed it. That would have been fun.
Yeah, it would have been nice. He would have already hit the over on that. Would have been halfway to the other.
It'd be fun. We're 5 minutes into this game, but again, he could play a lot of minutes here.
Hey, there's Embiid.
Dunkaroos. Those were delicious when you were a kid. Lunchables, Dunkaroos, give it all to me.
So you know that Dunkaroos were discontinued.
What?
Yeah, they're discontinued.
What kind of witchcraft is that?
Yeah, they were discontinued, and then they were being sold on eBay for like thousands of dollars for a package of Dunkaroos.
You're not even kidding.
I'm totally serious. They came back last summer.
Wow.
Because it's because I did freelance work at DraftKings with Emerson Lotzi, who's one of the hosts, and he's like a gigantic child, and he used to talk about Dunkaroos all the time. So I just got Dunkaroos updates.
Shout out to him though. Huge child. That's the way I want to be introduced for somebody I've never heard of before. Huge child. Eating habits are interesting. Jimmy Butler, 10.2. Of course, he has 9 points. Of course, right off the gate. James Harden, 9.2. That's better. The aforementioned Danny Green, 6. He's third in scoring. Rip City. Thibault, the 3.
I can't believe I invested in stocks in a season. I could have invested in Dunkaroos. That would have been way better for my portfolio.
I mean, are you kind of being sarcastic to yourself, or just investing in Dunkaroos
totally
to
honest.
sell online?
I'm being totally honest. You could have bought a box of Dunkaroos when we were kids, and it'd be worth like thousands of dollars now. Instead, I bought dumb stocks, and they're all worth shit now.
Well, you can salvage your night by heading over to OddsShopper, Greg. You can salvage your portfolio, expected ROI, expected win percentages directly on the page for you guys all to use. Go take advantage of that. It is as good as it gets. Also, let me pull this up here as we get out of here. Awesemo. I wanted to see what the best bets was. If you go to Awesemo, best bets on twitter.com, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to get free bets constantly. The Blues money line from Jazz Raz DFS. That's my friend Ben Raza. You have an opportunity to take Blues minus 115 money line. Simply check those out. Awesemo best bets on the Twitters. That is good times. I love free bets, being able to get them from the best players in the industry, some of the best bettors that exist on the planet. Take advantage. That is my boy, Ben. Greg, we have now reached the end of the boarding walk here. We've watched some stuff. Matisse Thybulle with the dunk. Okay, as I'm pulling it out here. Okay, young man. Let's see what's up. This could be fun. But Greg, any final words for the people as we get out of here? And a block. Oh my God.
Matisse Thybulle is just going to break this slate now. This is so funny. Matisse Thybulle, the conspiracy theorists on Twitter are going to go crazy. So I'm just rooting for Thybulle to break the slate now.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Enjoyed it. Absolutely good times. My boy, Jordan Klein. So good to see him. His enthusiastic energy, his zest for life, all of the things. Got to spend time with his work daddy and his 2 homeboys. What could be better? He's Greg Ehrenberg. Thank you so much for checking out. Hit that like button as we get ourselves out of here, and the subscribe button. I'm Eric Lindquist. We out, yo.
Work, daddy.